Okay, let's get the January 4th town meeting call to order, please, or roll call.
Ware.
Aye.
Pater. Here. Larson.
Here.
Shannon.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Passanello.
I can see him.
Say here.
Passanello.
Call his name again.
Passanello. Here.
Okay, we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go into invocation. We have on Zoom Pastor Brian Johnson from Haymarket Church. Good evening, Pastor. If you could give us a prayer, that'd be great. Could you hear me?
Were you muted?
Yes, I am. Okay. Find my unmute. Okay, next agenda item is invocation. Pastor Brian Johnson is with us on Zoom from Haymarket Church. If you could give us a prayer, we'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me. Let us take a moment. We greet the presence of the holy. We welcome the Spirit who undergirds creation into this meeting. Spirit of love, be present in this time, in this gathering. As we gather this evening, open our own spirits to the needs of others. Open our minds to the work of justice. Open our hearts to the cries of those who are in need. As this council gathers for its work this month, may the people in this Zoom room be guided to seek the common good rather than the interests of the few. May this body be attentive to the voices of our community, and especially to the voices of the marginalized, in whom and with whom we trust that the divine is ever present. Use this time to teach us to care for the needs of others, and to drive us forward in the work of building up a community of flourishing. Lead us towards your promised future of peace and thriving, to what Dr. King and others call the beloved community. Divine One, may we be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry, and committed to the work of justice. May we be ready to lead even when it is costly, and ready to walk together even when we aren't sure where we are going. Enable us all to do our part in the work of community, and may we reflect the light of joy and love to each other and to the wider world. Blessed are you, O one who undergirds the universe and calls us towards justice and mercy and peace. Amen.
Thank you. I'll say that one more time. Thank you. Next, we'll go to the agenda item for Delegate Danica. Danica, can you hear?
I guess she's still on. She turned her camera off.
She moved to text her.
Yeah.
Call her on
I
her
think
cell.
Bob did.
Can we call her on her cell to see?
You have her cell
You
number?
can try that.
Try chat.
410 people. Mayor won't even give me his phone number. Oh.
Got a voicemail, so she has her phone there.
No, she hasn't been feeling well.
Hey, Danica, Steve Shannon, we're trying to get you on Zoom here. Saw you earlier. If you're on, the mayor asked a few to go ahead. That was her voicemail, so,
Mayor, could we proceed until she?
yeah.
If you want to,
You had to have citizens time to get that over with.
Citizens time, you want to do your video.
Citizens time would be easier, so if she comes up, we can see it.
okay. Yeah, we'll start citizens' time then. I guess I'll get online here for that. We'll move to the next agenda item, citizens' time. First on the list, we have Jim Payne.
Oh, Danica's back.
Thank you.
Oh, there she is.
Can I go and then I go, or she's gonna go?
Yeah, we'll let Danica go. Hi, Danica, welcome back. I guess we'll start off with you.
Okay, can y'all hear me okay?
Just fine.
Okay, great, wonderful. So thank you all so much for having me here with you today to just talk about the 2021 legislative session. So what I'll do here is I'm going to present the main bill that I'm carrying for the town of Haymarket. We'll have a brief discussion just about that. I'll also talk about some of the other legislation I'm going to be carrying. And then floor is open for any questions that y'all have. I'm sorry I couldn't join y'all in person today. I did test negative for COVID twice actually on Saturday, but I did test positive for the flu. So even though I'm totally fine, I feel great. I was sick on Saturday, and so I'm supposed to quarantine for the week. So that's what I'm doing. So anyway, to start with, the first bill that I guess I'd like to discuss with y'all here is one that came from a couple of conversations that I know some of our members here have had. Our members here had not just amongst themselves, but also with Prince William County. And this specifically is dealing with basically allowing the any elected official within the town of Haymarket, or any given town really, to be able to serve on the appointed Board of Zoning Appeals for the county in which that person lives. And so what we did was we filed a legislative draft request that was exactly about doing that. And we got language back. And first off, I know Councilmember Uyghur, he had actually helped work on the language for this, which was great. And the Division of Legislative Services accepted that language basically verbatim. And so as soon as I can pull that up for you here, I'm going to go ahead and read that out to you. And if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to know, let me know. But otherwise, I will say that I did send an email to both town council members Uyghur and Pastanello, as well as Supervisor Pete Kalin about this, because I guess the issue arose, please correct me if I'm wrong, that when Supervisor Kalin had tried to tap Member Pastanello for the Board of Zoning Appeals for the county, there were some legal concerns that were basically coming in from some of the attorneys. And so what we want to make sure is that we are going to clear up any ambiguity whatsoever, and that everyone is on the same page, because it shouldn't be a problem in the first place, but at the same time, because they've raised the concern, we're just going to make sure that it's not. And so what the code currently says in this section is it says, members of the board, this is the Board of Zoning Appeals, shall hold no other public office in the locality except that one may be a member of the local planning commission, and any member may be appointed to serve as an officer of election as defined in 24.2-101. Now, what this bill will do is it's going to strike that "and" clause, and it's going to add another line. So what the bill that I'm proposing will do is it'll say, members of the board shall hold no other public office in the locality except that one may be a member of the local planning commission. Any member may be appointed to serve as an officer of election as defined in 24.2-101, and any elected official of an incorporated town may serve on the board of the county in which the member also resides. So in theory, that should clear up the legal gray area, I guess, that the town of Haymarket's experienced with this. So before I go on to the rest of the agenda there, do you all have any comments or feedback or other things that I should know about this bill in particular?
I think we're all good. Do you have something, Bob?
Joe, the question or the circumstances behind this arising were more a function of post-election and not at the time of appointment, correct? This was brought forth by a quote-unquote concerned citizen, as I recall?
That's correct. Actually, the events were that in 2018, Supervisor Kalin had asked me to join the the BZA. And then I was sworn in by the court after I was approved by the county, or as we would say, recommended, because you have to be put forth by the circuit court. So I was sworn in, I think it was July of 2019. I had been serving on the board. And one of the questions when I decided to run for council was, could I do both? And I consulted with a number of folks, one of them being Bob, one of them being Pete, the BZA chairman, and some other legal minds. And the consensus was that I could do both. And then we found out that somebody challenged whether I could or couldn't. And that's fine, you know, that's not a problem. And so the county decided to seek advice from the circuit court, and haven't heard anything back since then. But I understand they may be seeking an opinion from the Attorney General, which I haven't been able to confirm. So that's the sequence of events, essentially.
The only other thing I would note is that locality is actually defined within the statute as in this case, the parent jurisdiction, the county, and not the town.
Okay, so any other questions or feedback regarding this bill? Is my request to the council, especially if you can do it today, is I would like to have a resolution of support from the town council that I can then present in front of the County Cities and Towns Committee when this bill does come up. And just as a reminder, I am the subcommittee chair for the charter subcommittee on County Cities and Towns. However, it is not likely that the subcommittees within County Cities and Towns are going to meet during the 30-day session. Everything's on a very condensed time slot. So there is a spot on the actual calendar that's about due to be released in which, like, each week, like, if we were to have that meeting, then we would have it. But it appears likely that CC&T bills are going to go directly to full committee. And so basically, you know, it's going to be one and done. We'll send it to the House floor. Ideally, this thing gets out, you know, on the consent agenda. And I can already tell you, I've reached out to some of my Democratic and Republican colleagues about the bill. I've got one member from Southwest Virginia who's Republican, who I worked really well with, Delegate Moorfield, who's interested in being a chief co-patron on this bill. He actually represents like 10 towns. It's incredible when you get into like far Southwest Virginia, just how many towns that you're dealing with. And I'm also planning to request Delegate Wendy Goditis, because she represents 3 towns between Loudoun and Clark counties to hop on the bill as well. So, you know, I like to show a good, you know, just strong bipartisan support, see if we can get this thing out 100-0 and, you know, move on with our day. Okay, so moving on then.
One question, Delegate Roan, do you have a bill number for this yet?
No, Mr. and Mayor Larson, the I do not have a bill number right now because we wanted to wait until we talked to you all today to make sure that everything was finalized, so that if we had a legislative draft request for an edit that we need to submit, that we could still do that before January 13th. So with the council's blessing, more or less, after tonight, assuming we have no further objection, then we'll be filing the bill and we'll be getting that bill number for it. And I see Mr. Morris has a question.
Yes, thank you. Will any appeals from the town of Haymarket be,
You're muted.
You muted.
You can use the screen.
bottom left?
You can use the screen as well.
Okay, got it, thank you. Will any appeals from the town of Haymarket be heard by the Prince William County BZA?
No.
But any appeals from the town, I would defer to Mr. Krim on that, but I don't think that's, I don't think that's correct. I don't think that would be the situation.
That's correct. There would be no appeals from any town decision to the county BZA. They would go to the town BZA.
So if there's a decision to be made and it comes through the planning commission, comes to the town council, they would then take it to the town's BZA. And it would have nothing at all to do, so there's no conflict of interest in supporting this bill.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Just for clarity, the two ways that you get before the BZA are either on an appeal from a decision of the zoning administrator or on an application for a variance.
Okay,
So neither of those would involve the planning commission or the town council directly.
thank you.
Thank you.
Marshall?
Marshawn?
Can you hear me?
You,
Two mutes on here. Yeah. Do you want both the microphone on and the Zoom on?
Yes, please.
Mr. Schneider, muted.
Yep.
They're good.
I got you. So, some context. At one point, probably half a dozen years ago, we had contemplated using the county's BZA to hold our cases because we had a hard time staffing a BZA at the town level. There was a number of reasons that I can't recall off the top of my head, but we wound up abandoning that effort. We haven't taken it up since. So, I don't know if that had any relationship to your question, but that was one. There was once a time when we considered that, but we abandoned.
so is there the possibility of us ever using the county's BZA to hear any case from the town of Haymarket?
Not currently.
That could occur, would require a charter amendment. The draft charter amendment that we proposed some years ago, when Mr. Henshaw was the town manager, called for that. We had some preliminary discussions with the county because they'd have to agree. And in theory, they agreed that the county BZA would act as the town BZA, staffed by the town and paid by the town anytime that they heard a town case. But that is highly theoretical at this point, unless you decide to reinstitute the charter amendment that we.
Mayor Larson and the council, I would tell Mr. Krim there that we are past the point where we are able to submit new legislative draft requests. So anything that were going to happen on that particular subject that Mr. Schneider was just raising, that couldn't possibly come up until 2022 at the earliest. And again, as a reminder, as the chair subcommit, as the charter sub chair, I will definitely make sure that any charter that came up from the town of Haymarket would be well taken care of. I would be in my colleague's best interest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so are there any other questions or feedback about this bill? Okay, great. So I'll move on. I'll start talking about some of the other bills that I'm bringing forward here. So one of the things that I really like about the way that this session is starting to unfold in terms of where I come from as, you know, just our local delegate here is most of the bills I'm putting forward are constituent service requests or continuations of other sorts of bills that I've been doing, or in one case we have an agency request. So here's a great example. I'm sure even though as town council members, you do not directly deal with DMV and unemployment issues every day, I do know that the town has been in talks with the DMV commissioner regarding having that basically a satellite location for DMV being located in the town of Haymarket. And likewise, I know you guys are still working and talking all that out. Commissioner Holcomb's discussed that with me. I told him I would be enthusiastically supportive of whatever y'all wanted to do on this. It would, I mean, just that would be a great boon for y'all not to have to come down to my neck of the woods in Manassas for y'all to do it. But that said, I want to just talk to y'all about this DMV bill in particular, because once the DMV office, if it is that Valley office, were to open in the town of Haymarket, I want to make sure that, number one, you guys know how this bill would affect y'all, and number two, that if you do have constituent service issues that are coming up right now regarding DMV, that this is going to address some of those. So basically in the budget earlier this year, we had to, through the budget amendment process, we basically had to give the commissioner, the DMV commissioner, certain extended powers in the cases of states of emergency. And what happened very early on is that once, lockdown happened, a lot of people are having a lot of problems accessing some very basic information and documents from the DMV. And if it wasn't easily accessible online, we were having problems with canceled driver's licenses, or the time frame for dealing with driver improvement clinics, all this sort of stuff. So the bill that I'm going to be carrying here, what this does is it'll give the DMV commissioner the authority to extend certain time frames during a declared state of emergency for up to 90 days after the state of emergency is rescinded or expires. And these extensions are permitted by this authority. They've already brought relief, during the pandemic to begin with. And so this would provide extensions of, number one, the validity or delay of the cancellation of driver's licenses, special identification cards, and vehicle registrations. Next one is the time frame during which a driver improvement clinic or payment plan must be completed, the maximum number of days of residency permitted before a new resident must be licensed in Virginia pursuant to 46.2-308 to operate a vehicle, and the time frame during which a new resident may operate a vehicle in the Commonwealth which has been duly registered in another jurisdiction before registering the vehicle in the Commonwealth. So basically, we had a problem. The very short version of that is we've been having problems with people who are moving into Virginia or moving out of Virginia, basically getting their documents and getting all their chips in line. This bill is meant to expedite that fashion and to codify that so that in the future, the real problems that we were having in March, April, basically during springtime, we're not going to have to replicate those again. And my team, I can tell you, in my office, we have done a lot of constituent service work this year, specifically regarding DMV issues. This and unemployment, those are our top two right now. And we've had, constituent service requests coming in for these exact issues. So, I'm really happy to work with this one, especially because not only is it an agency request, which means it's highly likely to pass in the first place, but this also, in that we're just simply codifying, what is now existing practice. But what this also does is basically this is going to give relief to your constituents and mine alike, and for actually us just as people who interact with the DMV to begin with. So if you don't have any questions on DMV, I'll move forward, although I do see Councilmember Weir does.
Me?
Yes.
Hi, Danica. A couple of things on that. Real world situations I'm dealing with already with DMV, and in some respects with this particular aspect. Has there been any thought given to delivering guidance to the head of DMV with respect to their online license renewal program? I know they have available right now an online renewal for up to 2 years, not for the entirety of the 5 years, but there's no option to incorporate the provisions of the Real ID aspect into it. I mean, it seems to me that if you've got the capability to either scan or have electronic copies of the necessary documentation for Real ID, that as long as they're doing the renewals for up to 2 years, they should be able to go ahead and do it for the full 5 years. And in addition, do the Real ID component of it, so that we're not doing an online version and as soon as the emergency is over, if it's over, and if DMV full service centers ever reopen, then having to go back down and repeat the process again simply to comply with the Real ID aspects for for airline flight. And then the corollary to that is there seems to be a problem with the system that they've currently got in place for that 2-year renewal. That I guess it's sort of a patch, for lack of a better term. But you can't apparently do it for drivers that are on their first license, and they now have to get their first 21-year-old license. My guess is it has something to do with the picture and how they've got the picture in the different configuration. But you've got 21-year-olds who are not able to access the system, is my understanding, to renew it, and they're forced to go to the full-service center at a point in time where there is no full-service center availability, and appointments are lagging, I believe, last I heard, was 3 months.
Okay, so let me address a few of those things just from the start and kind of go down. So I actually just got my Real ID done, I think back in December, so it wasn't actually that long ago at all. I did have to go into the customer service center in Manassas in order to do it, and that's the one right where the Regal is. And it was like 20 minutes. It wasn't long at all. What I was able to do online was I got the schedule set for it. But one of the things I will tell you is that we had a lot of constituent service issues that came up of people saying, like, look, you're telling me I can't get an appointment until April of next year, or I can't get an appointment until summer, or whatever. I brought those on a case-by-case basis up to the commissioner and one of the commissioner's assistants, and they've been able to expedite those. I don't know if it is a Code of Virginia thing that I would have to change, or if it is simply an administrative function within the agency that would need to change in order to better expedite that. So what I'm basically saying, the layman's terms just for people watching at home, is I don't know if I actually have to file a bill to get that fixed. I think it might just be bringing these issues directly to the commissioner and saying, fix them. That's very often one of the things that we find in state government, is that you don't always have to go to the code. Sometimes you can just tell them to fix it. Here's the problem. With Real ID, because it's different from your standard driver's license, because you have that federal component to it, I don't know how that federal component deals with that 3-year gap between the 2 years that we can, just kind of automate more or less right now, versus that 5-year, that full renewal. I suspect the issue might be that there's a federal complication that involves this, and in that case, we'll have to get Representative Wexton's office involved. That said, what I can at the very least do is I can bring that up to Commissioner Holcomb, and I can just see if I can get him to find out whether there's any way for us to basically, number one, if it's possible, number one, under federal law, and number two, if it is possible, why aren't we doing it already? I have to imagine, after the volume that they've been dealing with this year, not to mention the fact that prior to COVID, they had a big Real ID push in the first place. They've been really trying to get people to actually sign up for this. You would figure they would want to expedite this, right? Unfortunately, my team and I, we have very good working relationship with the folks over at DMV right now. So we should be able to get you a good answer to that. And to Commissioner Holcomb's credit, he responds, personally, he responds every time. I've never had a problem with him. So, I think we'll be able to get an answer for you.
Cool.
Okay, any other questions on DMV? And then I'll kind of snap my way through the rest of these. We good? Mayor, you good? Okay, let's move on. So another one here that comes from the City of Manassas Park is they want me to put in a bill that I've already drafted here to authorize localities to have the option to adopt ordinances to prohibit auto dealers from allowing customers to test drive vehicles in residential areas if alternative commercial roadways are available. Now, we have actually looked into this. There are no police complaints in the City of Manassas Park over this. This is not a law enforcement problem as it stands. Okay, so I want to make sure everyone has that basic understanding. What we do have an issue with are people who live in residential areas who simply don't want test drives going through their residential areas. What the bill basically says is, look, you will have an option as a locality, not a mandate, that if you that if there is a commercial road or just a regular public road, not in a non-residential area, that you can restrict test drives to only go into that area and not go to residential area. As a town, you all could probably, actually adopt an ordinance on this, although Prince William County definitely could. However, I don't know that there is a actual auto dealership within the town Haymarket. I don't think there is. That's my area. The Route 28 corridor is notorious for its, and not to mention the Studley Road area is notorious for its auto dealerships. So that's just, I'm just mentioning it to y'all because just in case the county decides to approve a zoning, rezoning request to allow, test drives near the town of Haymarket out of a, dealer or whatever, you all would have the ability to potentially restrict, where they can go. So they could probably go down Washington Street, but probably not go down St. Paul, so just saying. All right, so moving on to the next ones. Y'all probably know that I deal a lot with school meals bills, basically just feeding hungry kids. This is a major thing that's come up because in Prince William County alone, we've had more than $300,000 of school meal debt collected year over year for a number of years now. And so, the General Assembly has passed and the governor signed into law 6 of my school meals bills just since last year, including 5 this year. So at this point, it's almost like, what's left to do? Well, it turns out there was a couple things. Number one would be to mandate participation in the federal after-school meals program. What this basically does is, in Prince William right now, we've got a good number of schools. I know a few years ago it was about a dozen. It's probably closer to 20 now. We have a number of schools throughout Prince William where you have enough enrollment of low-income families within these schools, and so that they meet the federal threshold to basically get free after-school meals. The issue comes up with, number one, how does this affect staffing? And number two, what typically happens is that you have activities after school in which the meals are more or less distributed around. So, you have a sports team that competes, you have an arts class that meets. Once they get out, meals available, right? If you mandate that participation, how is that going to affect that administrative burden for schools that haven't already implemented something like this? Because right now it's optional. Well, as we learned when I introduced and unanimously passed my bill to require participation in the community eligibility provision, for example, one of the things that we did was, number one, we created a hardship waiver so that if a locality could demonstrate that there is basically undue financial burden on them, that they couldn't afford to do it more or less, then they could opt out by the state issuing a waiver. But really, we're trying to say, look, there's free federal money, go take it. We don't want to just politely encourage you to do this anymore. Go do it. It's about feeding kids. This should not, and it's an existing program. It already works great in Prince William County. We want it to keep working. This is not an issue that is real. Maybe at Pace West, it could affect Pace West, but for Battlefield, for example, or the incoming 13th District School, it's not going to affect the school. It's not going to affect Reagan. It's not going to affect Tyler. Tyler does have a portion of its population that is certainly underserved and low income, and we want to help them out. But at the same time, there's more facilities right now for low income folks in Greater Haymarket and Gainesville to go versus Manassas, where we need a lot more help. And this is one of those things that's definitely going to be really good for a lot of the eastern Prince William and Manassas area schools in particular. It just in Haymarket and Gainesville, we just don't have a lot of schools that qualify for it, more or less. That's kind of the main gist of it. Second, school meals thing. Super quick on this. Carroll County last year, this is Carroll County in Virginia, outside of Richmond, threatened to sue parents over unpaid school meal debt. They're suing poor people for being poor. I put in a bill. I'm saying you can't do that. Any questions? Kids should eat. Period. Okay, thank you. Moving on. I also had let me see here, what else I got? I had a constituent service request from one of my Manassas Park constituents, actually from Manassas Park High School, requesting that I submit a bill to ban the LGBTQ panic defense. So basically what this means is that we have documented history in Virginia, and we have seen this, especially the most notorious case of this nationwide was in the Matthew Shepard case, where people will freak out on someone once they find out that they're either gay or trans or anywhere in the spectrum, and they will violently attack us or kill us. This happens, and then they will plead. Once they get to court, they will argue a heat of passion argument, and that heat of passion argument will get the sentence reduced, or it'll get dismissed altogether. And this is one of the things that came up again in the Matthew Shepard case. It was terrible. They literally just strapped him to a post after beating him, left him to die in Wyoming, and he did. And it's for not just myself on this call. I know that we've got one other member on this call right now, where this is really personal, and we know that this is a real fear. This is something that we really deal with. And then when I've got a teenager in Manassas Park asking me, please carry a bill for this, I'm saying yes, and we're doing it. So that's what we're doing. Any other questions about my bills? Okay, great. So with that, do you have questions about the upcoming session as a whole, or just things that you want to put on my radar, things you want me to watch out for?
Go ahead, Bob.
General question on CARES Act funds. The governor released the first two tranches of funding to localities and then held back the third and fourth tranches, ostensibly with the intention of possibly doing something other than releasing them for the localities' use as they were intended. Do we know where those third and fourth tranches of money are, or has he used it for something else and we stand no chance of getting it in the next 6 to 10 months?
So to Mayor Larson and the council, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know what the distribution of the third and fourth tranche is. So we will follow, my team that we're going to look into will follow up with you. But yeah, I don't know the answer to your question. Oh, and I forgot to mention one of my other bills, by the way. This is going to be a 2-year bill, just so everyone knows, because that's the way the process works. We've got a bill that will prohibit charging FOIA fees for the first 2 hours it takes to process a FOIA request. So this includes the town pay market, so get ready on y'all's end as well. But again, it's going to be a 2-year process. A bill like this has to go through the FOIA Advisory Council, and then it would have to get a recommendation from the Advisory Council in order for me to bring it back a subsequent year. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to introduce the bill. It's going to go to the General Laws Committee. They're going to gently lay it on the table. It will then be referred to the FOIA Advisory Council. They'll make later in the year. They'll make a recommendation on it. And then, assuming that the people at 13th District hire me again in November, I'll be bringing this back in 2022. And we're going to make sure that your public documents you can afford to actually get. This is a constituent service request out of Manassas, where a mom of an autistic kid who was assaulted on the school bus was being asked to pay thousands of dollars to be able to just look at the video of what happened to her child. That should have never happened. And I will also tell you that there is a certain member of your council here who is very, very familiar with FOIA fees, mainly in that he's been charged them on a lot of occasions. I'm not going to say Bob Weir's name in this sentence. I'm simply going to say a certain member of the Haymarket Town Council is very, very familiar with having to deal with FOIA fees. And if we have any questions about why bills like this need to exist, I will simply say I have constituents in multiple communities that I represent who very much would appreciate it.
Thanks for reminding me, and I'll get you the outrageous quotes from the past, and some of which were in excess of $30,000 from both the Prince William County School Board and from Prince William County's legal department.
Mr. Mayor, just one more question. Delegate Danica, do you know of outside of the... You and Bob can call each other later. This is council time. Outside of the CARES Act, do you know of any other assistance programs that the county is looking at for small businesses? If you don't know, is it possible for you to find out and educate us on it?
Mayor Larson and to the council, and to Councilmember Morris, the short answer is yes. The county should have a number of small, basically whether they're PPP loans. That's the first thing that they should be dispensing to you all, and that because CARE Act dollars are federally administrated. They're administrated locally, but they're federally appropriated anyway. There are a number of boxes that you have to check. There's a whole lot of different options that are available, especially in the stimulus one that was just signed, just last week. That has small business relief in it as well. So the short answer of this is yes, the county is going to be able to provide small business owners with a lot more options for how they can take care of themselves and get that relief. The short answer for me is I don't know what all the specifications of them are right now, but this is one of those things where it's still being rolled out. So we're all going to kind of find out together. And as we do, in my weekly newsletter that we send out every Friday or Saturday, we include information about how small businesses can get those COVID-19 relief funds in the first place. And we will include that in any blast that we send out from my office, and we'll put it on my social media channels, both on Facebook and Twitter as well, to make sure that any person in Greater Prince William who needs this help, that they can get it.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mayor, do you think it is beneficial for us to post links for our delegates and maybe Board of County Supervisors on our Haymarket page? I don't think we've started doing it.
So one thing I was just going to mention is if any businesses have questions about aid that the county is providing or anything that they need assistance with, please just have them reach out to us. I can help facilitate, get them to the exact link that they need to. I'm pretty familiar with the pages, so I've done it a couple times with different businesses that have been able to get the assistance from the county because you do have to have a certain knowledge base because there's just so much stuff out there that I don't want them looking in the wrong place for an hour and a half and just giving up. So I'd actually just ask them if they want to reach out to Town Hall, we can get them to wherever they need to go for whatever the purpose is. That would probably be the easiest just because I am pretty familiar with it and talking with economic development and tourism and everything in between, just trying to keep up to date with what's going on. So so any business that has any questions, please have them reach out. And
that's a good suggestion, but you have a limited number of hours that you're here in the office, and I don't think it would hurt if a town business wants to do the research on their own and still reach out to you afterwards. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't hurt us just putting it on our website or our Facebook page. So I understand the vast amount of knowledge that you have from all your research and all the good things that you've done, especially with the CARES Act and the PPE. But just in addition to that, put it out there for them to do their own research if they want to. Because their hours of wanting to do research maybe at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sure you're not going to entertain a phone call at 2 in the morning.
Well, if they email me, I'll be more than happy to just send the link as soon as possible, which I have done in the past. So that's where, we can try and post everything, but it's one of those things too where it is, it's coming fast. So there's different changes and everything that happens. So that's just to help them facilitate it. But we can absolutely put it on the town website.
I mean, if it's okay with the mayor, instead of just having one channel, it could be you plus the websites, plus the social media, just to give whatever information we have, just to be able to send it out there for residents of the town to access on their own, do their own research. Maybe they'll do initial research and realize they don't qualify. And that just took away 10 minutes of your time, just saved you 10 minutes. So I understand, but just to in addition to. I'm not saying eliminate, I'm just saying in addition to.
Yeah. The difficulty about that, of course, is administration burdens to keep this up to date because, like Chris said, we are moving quickly, so these links can break pretty quickly as well, which means they would have to spend a lot of time on administration. And as you know, our staffing is pretty overloaded already. It's something that we could review and see if it's possible. I'll leave that up to you, Chris.
The delegate Rome, I think, had something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just someone say my name.
Did you have something? You're waving.
Oh, Chris Kuhn, can you unmute your mic?
Oh. Sorry about that.
No worries. What can I do for you?
Nothing. We were just, I saw you waving, so that's where I was going to just see if you had anything else to say.
Yeah, the thing that I would also add to that is my office deals with a lot of small business owners and just constituents in general who need either unemployment relief or they need access to those loans. Any resident of the town of Haymarket that needs help with this, please feel free to contact me. My email is DELDROEM, DelDRome, at house.virginia, spelled out, .gov. So please feel free to reach out, and either myself or a member of my staff will get back to you, within the day, and we'll help you get what you need.
I'm good. Thanks, Denica.
All right, great. Well, thank you all very, very kindly for joining. It's good to see some longtime familiar faces again, and it's also good to see some members who I hadn't seen on council before. So that is great, especially Tracy Lynn, wonderful to see you. And Marshawn, you and I go way back, but I haven't seen you on council before. So this
We paid him.
all right, so take care, y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, did you want to do the video, or?
That's up to council.
I'd recommend we have people send it. We had a couple leave already.
Yeah, I think we should bump citizens' time up before the video.
And then I can do it after citizens' time.
Okay. So, thanks for your patience, audience. Jim, it's your turn.
Good evening. Jim Payne, 6680 Fayette Street. As I've stated before, I've viewed and come to quite a few of these meetings, and while it doesn't make me smarter than anybody else, that lets me... Okay, let me just lean towards this.
You can move the mic closer to you.
I guess I can just pick it up like this.
There we go.
It just lets me be aware of maybe what was said. For those of you who don't remember, I know a lot has gone on in the world since this council has run and got elected. But just to refresh some memories, when this council was running as a ticket, there were a lot of rumors floating around about if this ticket was elected, they were going to shake up the police force. I don't know who or exactly how those rumors got started, but I do know that on April 14th meeting, a then candidate came in and vehemently denied any of those statements that he or no candidate that he had spoken with had any reservations or questions for the need or importance of the Haymarket PD. I bring this up because at the December 7th town meeting, there was a lot of discussion around the police. There were several motions, alternate motions, and friendly amendments. But what was quite disturbing, and why I shared the opening, was about 3 hours and 17 minutes into this meeting, Councilman Shannon made an alternate motion to allow the chief to pursue a full-time police officer position to fill the one vacated by Officer O'Neill, and not one of you guys up on the dais even seconded the motion. Not one. I'm guessing a similar motion will also get made at some point in lieu of what has transpired with Officer Hood. Yes, now there's another officer leaving or that has left the department, and I see the website is advertising for both full-time and part-time positions. It's a shame it has taken so long for that to happen. Didn't have to use the word defund, but the end result was a reduction in force. In past meetings, not said by just me, but also others, and also a councilman on the dais, that the lack of making a decision on the council's part and kicking the can down the road was going to have a negative effect on perception and morale of the police department. And look where we're at right now. The Haymarket Police Department has lost 1/3 of their force since this council has taken over. The residents can make up their own minds if this is just coincidence, planned attrition, or something else. What I believe is that the word might be out, and other police officers are even hesitant to apply to Haymarket because of this. Is that a fair statement? I cannot say. I can say that I don't believe the mayor's POV paper helped dissuade or alleviate any fears, but whatever the case might be, currently, as of the last time I checked, the chief has 0 candidates, whether full-time or part-time, to choose from. The chief is forced to patrol the streets as there is no other option. The police department now has 4 full-time officers, that's including the chief, where there used to be 6, and no plan B due to resources. I don't think that realization would make The residents feel very safe, as it doesn't me. As has been stated up on the dais before, police burnout is something that's real, and having 1/3 of the force gone is not going to help matters. What also scares me is that Haymarket could get known as a soft target, and as we know, crime is mostly about opportunity, and a less officers means much more chance of that opportunity rearing its ugly head. Yes, I know what came out of the last meeting is that the council shifted $21K in funds for part-time officers. Fortunately, Officer Hood has agreed to work part-time, but as we all know, his full-time job is going to take priority if that's needed. I know the chief was given the go-ahead in the December 7th meeting to hire new part-time officers, but in these unprecedented times, I think sighting a Bigfoot riding a Loch Ness monster might have a higher probability of happening. The notion that part-time officers are easier to train is erroneous and based on flawed logic. A qualified officer, whether they be part or full-time, is trained at the academy, and what is needed is to train them how things are done in Haymarket. So a part-time officer would probably take longer due to the fact that they are going to be there less hours to get up to speed. In the last PC meeting, there were a lot of statements concerning the impact on property values when the QBE property was discussed. Some of those statements were objective, some not so much, but really will hurt property values, and you don't have to be a realtor to know it, is crime. Crime statistics like the ones that were asked for are a considerable factor affecting property value, and if people want to come and stay in your town and put down roots. I know that's what I looked at when I was looking to come to Haymarket. Safety is a basic human need, and the Haymarket Police, being a fully functional organization, is a vital component of that. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim. Next, Andrea.
Good evening, Andrea Payne, 6680 Fayette Street. On a positive note, I wanted to start to thank the town staff, Chris Kuhn, everybody that helped support the CARES Act. I think it was a great success for the town and for us businesses. We certainly benefited from that. The video that we were able to participate in was fantastic. It was well executed. And the 100,000 plus views between YouTube and Facebook have been amazing. So we hope that continues to grow and hope to see that moving forward with additional items such like that to be able to help our businesses and our residents in town. So I just want to start with that. Thank you so much. I did come up to talk about the DMV tonight. I've been listening online if I haven't been here in person, kind of watching what's going on. There's been a whole lot of discussion. And as a business owner, I know what it takes to set up a business and do all the paperwork and figure everything out and put the infrastructure in place. And I'm concerned that the town does not have the investment resources to put into this type of business at this point. Not only are we talking about build out, but we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about internet, we're talking about security, firewalls, actually having someone here to be able to address any technical issues that would arise while the town is pursuing that. As far as cross-training existing staff, the mayor just mentioned that everybody is overloaded, so I don't know how they would be able to take on additional work. Right now, it can take several weeks when you send something in to the town planner, for example, for it to actually be read and reviewed until you hear something back. So, you know, the amount of time that it's going to take for them to be able to continue to do their main effort would be greatly declined. So on top of that, I've heard it's going to be a busy office. What does a busy office mean? Does that mean if you have 3 people on staff, 30 minutes at an appointment, that's 8 hours a day, that's 48. If you cut that in half and you say they're 15-minute appointments, then you're saying almost 100 appointments per day. What's the traffic analysis on that? I hear traffic analysis on everything that comes into town. So what is going to be the traffic analysis on that? Is there enough parking to be able to establish that? What's going to happen when somebody gets behind and then you've got, 10 people waiting in line to be able to get into the building to do that? Also wondered about another option. Instead of actually utilizing this space, the town owns multiple properties within the town. So is there other properties that could be utilized to set up such a business when the town doesn't have the debt that they have today to be able to do this? I'm all for trying to find another revenue stream for the town. So please don't get me wrong there. I really want to be able to help the town. It impacts all of us. It reduces our taxes that's a good thing. But I can't see, I've run the numbers left and right, and I can't see where it's going to do a positive situation. It's going to be a whole lot of money in before we see a positive out on that. So I just want to thank you for your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I don't have anybody else on the list here. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to? Dominic, I'm assuming that you wanted to speak during the bond discussions? Yes. So I'll give you time during the bond discussions.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. I'll be speaking for the Citizens for the Betterment and Harmony of Haymarket, as well as for myself. First, for the Citizens Group, I didn't understand everything that we were hearing in the way of the bills, and I guess we'll know, so it'll be hard for me to pass that information on to them until I know whether those bills actually pass. And I'd like to know when they'll actually be presented and the results of it so that I can pass that on to the Citizens Group. I'll trust you to let me know that. One of my concerns, and of the other citizens in the Citizens Group, is that safety is so extremely important to us. And I want to reiterate what Jim Payne said about the police department. I've spoken on behalf of the citizens a number of times, and on behalf of myself, because it's extremely important to me as a senior with disabilities that lives alone to not feel safe in this town that I've lived in for almost 50 years. This is the absolute best police department we have ever had. And I knew a lot of them for a long time. There was no comparison. And I have to say, even mentioning funding part-time funds is ridiculous. And it's ridiculous because it's hard to get someone really good. Would any one of you, I know I wouldn't want to work part-time if I had an opportunity for a full-time position. And you've put a terrible burden on him to be able to find someone. I think what I heard at the last meeting was something about it'll come up in April. Well, that means July's budget. I hope I misunderstood that. It seemed really foolish to me. And to quote someone in the Citizens Group, they asked me to relay to you it was stupid. So that didn't come from me. That came from a citizen. But I have to tell you that it's extremely important that you expedite the funds, especially before you hire a bunch of people to create a DMV in this office. We need to know that we're going to be safe. And as time goes on with all that's going on in the world today, and even in Virginia, we don't feel that safe all the time. And it means a lot to all of us to know that we can count on the tallest man in the room. We need that department to be funded. And I think the DMV would be a mistake to do right now. I think it's a waste of money we don't have. It's also, there's several things. Some will come up at the next meeting, but there's to me, almost a conflict of interest, and some of the citizens are telling me the same thing, that they're not understanding why the town's manager is meeting and making decisions about planning commission issues with the town planner. And we've had problems in the past with architectural review board trying to do all kinds of things other than review the architecture, and don't even have a consultant of an architect on there to help them. So I thank you for all you do, and to say thank you, I brought 2 dozen of cinnamon apple donuts from the Apple House in Linden, and they're in the back. I hope you'll enjoy them.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Knight.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else in the audience who would like to comment? Okay, we'll move on to the video, Chris.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen here. Yes. Emily, can you make it so that I'm able to share my screen? So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to go over, thank the Paynes for participating in the video, but also just wanted to run down the list of how the video was able to come about. What we did is, as everybody knows, we got the CARES Act funds, and then we had a couple different options that we had available to us. So what I did is actually at the November Business Roundtable, which was the 12th, we presented a couple options to the businesses. We could advertise through radio, or we could try and advertise. Okay. Or we could try and advertise with a video. So I asked what the businesses felt would be appropriate, and the feedback that I got was that a video would be something that they'd be interested in. So after that, I reached out to local video production companies. I found 3 that were relatively close. They could give me a quote. It was Leesburg, Prince William County, so it was just on the other side in Gainesville, and then one was in Chantilly. So I was able to find a responsible, capable bidder that was able to turn around the edits relatively quickly. So like I said, that was 5 days. November 17th, I was able to find that contractor. And on the 20th, I sent an email to all the businesses that we had that have sent in business license. So it was about 144 businesses that we emailed. Everybody had the same opportunity to respond. Some, of course, the emails were no longer valid, or was their bookkeeper or something like that, so we found out later. But I sent it out at 4:25, so 16:25. I got 6 responses within an hour, and I actually had 12 emails it was 6:58. I had 12 emails. And I was requesting 5 to 10 to participate in this video. So, within 2 hours and some change, we already had 12 businesses. Within 24 hours, we had 30 businesses applied. So what I did is I talked with the video production company, and we decided on December 7th. So I reached out to 12 businesses, the first 12 that had responded, to basically see if that date and time worked for them. Because if it didn't, then we would try and keep 10 businesses in this video. And then what we also did is we reached out to those businesses and told them that if they had customers that they wanted in the video, this was a time that they could offer that service to those customers. So we didn't hire any actors, so that's something that these are actual customers that shop at the different businesses. So then all of the 12 businesses except one responded and said that they'd be able to participate, and I talked with the video production because it was going to be 10, but I was able to get them to provide one more. And then they provided their first draft. It was the 11th, and we had to review it for some CARES Act stuff, and there's some things that we had to add, which is like the very front screen here, talking about help the town of Haymarket bounce back from COVID-19. So there's some things that we needed them to provide to make sure that it would be able to pass an audit. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and let you all see the video, and then I'll provide some of the final numbers that Ms. Payne spoke to as well.
Welcome to Haymarket, small town nestled at the edge of Bull Run Mountain. We have over 50 businesses, 2,000 residents. It's a quaint town. Come see us.
The charm of Haymarket speaks for itself.
Everything is pretty much right around the corner.
When people shop in Haymarket, they're keeping their dollars local.
You're able to find more unique, more personalization, I think, when you're going into small town shopping here in Haymarket.
You don't have to go very far for anything that you're looking for, and it's good to support locally.
We have a huge, a pretty diverse crowd. I feel like we get everything from equestrian people, younger high school kids, city people.
The Northern Virginia area is so busy and crazy. It's really nice to come home to Haymarket.
The people in Haymarket are what's awesome here. It's a sense of community.
Everybody's very friendly, outgoing.
The customers in Haymarket are all wonderful. They have a sense of community. They love to support each other, and they've been so supportive of us.
For the repeat business, the repeat guests that come in, they're just like family. It's just nice because it's like a second home away from home.
And that's kind of how we've built our business, and we enjoy that, feel and atmosphere of Haymarket.
I think we're about to see some really cool things happening here in Haymarket. One of the main reasons why I chose Haymarket to come here is we're the building blocks of a really cool downtown setting that they're trying to build here.
Haymarket is a great place to live and do business.
A sweet small town.
A true community.
A Hallmark movie.
Haymarket is a fresh baked cookie.
Quiet, relaxing.
It's home for the holidays.
It's a place where everybody knows each other.
It's fun and charming and cute.
Where, life slows down a little bit.
Great small community with amazing people and great businesses.
It's where I chose to raise my family.
Haymarket is family.
It is home.
The small town that I call home.
So come out to Haymarket, everyone's hometown.
So that was the video, which I think everybody can be pretty proud of. So just some of the numbers to let you kind of put a grasp on it. So with YouTube, we did an ad campaign. So before you watch a video, we focused the counties, Prince William County and counties surrounding it. We had 94,000 views of this video. On Facebook, we had 40,500 views, and then on Instagram, it was 1,285 views. So as of right now, we were looking at about 135, almost 136,000 views since we posted this, and that was December 17th. So that just kind of goes to show you how many people were able to view it and share it with their friends and neighbors and everything else. We did get some comments about the lack of diversity and things like that, but like I want to reiterate, the main focus is that we were fair and equitable. We sent it to all the businesses at the same time and asked them if they'd be willing to participate. And the majority of the businesses, like the Paynes, are the ones that are very active. They come to the business roundtables. They actually have hosted a business roundtable. They're here. They engage with the town, the voucher programs, and the different things like that. So, those were the ones they were ready to answer. So we didn't pick and choose who was in the video. It was actually first come, first serve. So for anybody that felt there wasn't a lot of diversity, that's why. It's because we sent it to everybody, and it was the first people who responded were the ones that we incorporated. We could have hired actors, but we felt that, especially with the pandemic, this would have been a nice gesture for those customers that have really helped the business move forward and continue throughout this. We kind of give them, the tip of the cap to say, let the businesses thank them by, being the voice for their business. So that's one of the things that we did. And then just so everybody knows, with this video, we actually were able to get this logo, so the Visit Haymarket Virginia with the steeple and the sun. So that's a logo that we'll be able to use for like a Visit Haymarket initiative. So some of the events and things like that, instead of us only using the town seal, we can have some stuff. So if it's funner events and things like that, or shop small events, we can have like the Visit Haymarket, which that's actually pretty expensive. So the fact that we were able to get that as well is really nice. And then we were also able to get a bunch of stills of the businesses. So if you guys are on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, you've probably seen some of the sponsored ads that we have. We partnered with Prince William County Tourism, so if you click on it, it'll actually go to the Town of Haymarket section of Prince William County Tourism. So that's something that me and Miles have been working with the Prince William County Tourism on getting that up and running. But we use those still images for those sponsorships. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to then turn around, since the sponsorship is now over, because at the time we thought that we were going to have to expend the money by the 30th. So now that those ad campaigns are done, I'm going to go ahead and give all those stills to the different businesses so that they'll be able to use them for their Facebook or any ad campaigns, because they're really high-end videos. So that's something that I think will be beneficial as well.
Good job.
But,
yeah. Good job. For sure.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of comments, if I can.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Hey, Chris, and the team, this is like phenomenal, top-of-the-line type quality work. I don't know, I think you're going to have a problem if you decide to do another video. I don't know how you're going to choose the people for the next video. I mean, that's going to be on you and your team, but you're going to have a problem. I would love to see you sending out this video to the 144, especially to the 134, 133 that missed in responding. And I want to say for the record that I think it is the responsibility of the businesses to update their contact information, and you did nothing wrong. You did it by the book, and I think you did it with excellence. So it is, maybe we need to send something out on Facebook to the business owners or through our text messaging service to say, hey, if you're not getting our emails, update your information. Because a business that may have been open 20 years ago, maybe the business email is no longer working, but maybe we should inform them. But I witnessed that you were trying to defend your position a lot, and I just want you to know that I don't think you need to, even though thank you for trying to do it. You went by the book, and you tackled this issue, and we got Haymarket out to 94,000 YouTube, 40,500 Facebook, and 1,500 Instagram. That's amazing, man. Good work. Good work.
Thank you. And that's exactly what's happened, is we have had businesses come because now they felt like they were left out. Mm-hmm. And that's where I've had to let them know that, please come to the business roundtables. We're going to start having them on Zoom. So what we'll do is we'll start recording them through Zoom, so this way we can provide the email so the businesses know what's going on, and we can continue to try and do what we can. Found out there's several businesses that their bookkeeper is the one that was the email associated with their business license, because they're the ones that help them pay the bills and everything. So we've corrected some of those different items. But that just goes to show, some of the businesses, they really haven't been getting a lot of love from the town. So now with, Tracy Lynn specifically, and, myself and Emily and staff really working to try and help the businesses, hopefully, we'll have a lot more participation, because we just want to continue to build on stuff like this.
And then, we need to also give shout out to, like, Doug is day out they're not paying attention down there. You know, that they're, you know, like Foster's, those people are like consistently being involved in the town, and they set an example and leave a door open for other businesses. So you guys just continue doing what you're doing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Joe, I see your hand up.
I want to reinforce what I just heard. I agree. That's just an incredible video, and I applaud the work that you did on this, Chris, and all the folks that participated. Vice Mayor, nicely done. Very nicely done. And, you know, the only other thing I would suggest is that we have a pizza throw contest between Joe and Aaron. I think that would be an interesting event in town. But seriously, it's just an incredible marketing campaign, very successful in my mind, given the metrics that Chris Morris was talking about. So I think we should feel good and move on to the next one, if whatever that might be. And I think he's right. I think you're going to have a lot of people clamoring to do this, to get involved, which is a good thing, right? It's a good problem to have. So, well done. Thank you.
Anyone else on the dais? Zoom?
Mr. Mayor, I did have a similar conversation with Chris, similar to the statements that Chris Morris had said about sort of the feedback. I think the success proves itself. The fact that you're having such an interest that people are reaching out, obviously you had the desired effect. So good work to you and your staff. And did you say there might be an opportunity for a second video or follow-up ones?
Yes. So with the CARES Act extension for another year, we haven't expended all the funds. There were some options that we had ready to go, but with the extension, it gave us enough time. So we do have some additional funds. So Roberto and I are kind of going through everything to get the final amount. And then I have a couple different options, which at the next business roundtable, I think I'm going to spitball with the businesses that are able to come and kind of get some feedback, whether it's the vouchers, different videos, different things like that. I think we've got a couple different options that I'm just going to reach out to them and kind of see. It was the same thing when we were talking about the radio versus social media. Was where do they get their business? How to and you know, take that information that they use every day and just kind of build on it instead of trying to do our own thing that may not work. Let's get the feedback from the businesses and see if we can help them. So that's something that I think we'll work on at the next business roundtable. But I think we will have some options.
I mean, lottery or some other option may be a viable way to address sort of the competition you may have as a result of it. I will say it's been my experience that some businesses are simply harder to engage, whether it's a language barrier or a cultural barrier or some other barrier to responsiveness. So it may take a little bit more work, either through the council members or through the staff, to reach out to some of those businesses that don't traditionally have the ability to participate on a regular basis. So, great job, Beatrice. I know you took your glasses off.
Yeah, I did. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I think that's it for the round table. We'll move on to the next item, which are our agenda items. First thing on it.
Excuse me, you want to get a consensus to add the consideration of the resolution from Delegate Rome on there?
Oh, yeah.
Agenda item, please.
Okay, I see Joe's hand up. Go ahead, Joe.
With the council's indulgence, based on the discussion earlier with our Delegate Rome, I would like to recommend that we add an agenda item to Roman numeral number 6, make it 6-2 if the council agrees.
Second.
And that would be resolution number 2021-01, I think.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll add that item on. But we'll go to the bond release for the first agenda item. Chris, did you want to speak first, or you want me to invite?
I was just going to check and see if Emily wanted to speak, or...
The only thing I was going to say is, due to our current teleworking status, I did have Chris cover for me in a meeting with our town engineer, Katie McDaniel, as well as I believe Mary Worson was in attendance for the Fayette Street properties. So if it's all right with council, I'm going to hand this portion over to Chris since he was there to do the walkthrough, and then we can all discuss the report after he has a chance.
Yes, so this is something that's been going on since July. We've had many different things happen. The developer had come in, offered to fix the problem, went and did some work. Council was able to inspect it. It wasn't up to the satisfaction. And then what we had is most recently a request was made for the town engineer to go out and inspect the property. I've been able to reach out to the Blakemans, and we had scheduled the meeting. Mayor and myself had went with the town engineer. She took photos and got different information. I also asked if the homeowner could provide, photos of the yard, which she happily did. And after all that was said and done, Katie then compiled this report here that was provided. It was emailed, as well as I believe everyone should have a hard copy. So this is where, if you go down towards the bottom, it does mention that the yard area, the 80% coverage requirement, it has been met at the time of the as-built approval, even despite the rocks with the soil in poor growing conditions. It says the town has not taken action within the required 30-day period, and the town should release the erosion control bond. The landscaping bond may also be released if the trees are alive and healthy, with 10% held back in escrow for 2 years in accordance with Town Code Section 58.2.11.10. So this is something that the minimum requirement has been achieved, and this is what council had requested at the last meeting, was for the town engineer to review it and provide this report. So myself, as well as Emily, can stand ready to answer any questions.
Okay, first off, I'm going to let Dominic speak if he has anything he wants to say real quick.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, chief. First of all, I didn't realize with the work sessions that I wasn't able to speak, so sorry about last Monday, but now I feel a little more comfortable, got some time to speak about all this. So we have 3 bonds. I'm asking that the 2 that are remaining, there's a vote to release those bonds tonight. The first bond is the big bond. That's the construction bond. Town of Haymarket reviews that. Katie from Christopher Consultants, the engineer for the town, reviews that plan. And it doesn't go to Prince William County for approval. That is with the town. We go through the construction. When that is done, there's an as-built that's required by the town. We did that. We provided that. Then it goes back. That goes to Katie at Christopher Consultants, the engineer for the town. She reviews all that, and approved it. And of course, we voted, or he voted to have that bond released. Within that big set of plans, there's the erosion and sediment control plan. There's the devices. There's the grading plan. The as-built goes into detail about the grading, etc. And so we got that one finished. The other bond is the tree bond, and up until now, I don't think that has gone for a vote to be released, only because I think there's been so much conversation about the erosion and sediment control bond, which is the third bond. In fact, when I met with Chris back, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, he didn't know why that was not released, that should be released. There'd be no problem. There is a 10% holdback, as he mentioned, on that for 2 years. I think the best way to go with that would be the occupancy date. I could try and come up with when we installed it, but I think the occupancy date would be a good thing. That's what you issue, and so there is something there. Of course, that would be done by that time. So the first homeowner has been in there 15 months, so there's more time left on that. The second one has been in there 14 months, and the third one has been in there since mid-March, we're almost going on 10 months. So trees were in good condition, and there hasn't been any issue with that, no discussion about that. So I'm hoping there's a motion to have that tree bond. Again, these are 3 separate bonds, and that be approved. The last bond is the erosion and sediment control bond. The way it's represented to me when we first started this project is that this is a bond so that the town can be protected in the event that there's, during construction, erosion and sediment control. Once the project is finished, then we apply for this to be released. In order to enforce, because the town doesn't have employees as other counties to actually go ahead and say, guess what, you got an erosion problem here, your silt fence fell down, etc., you hired out soil consultants. Soil consultants, I know well, because I had to pay $135 or $125 every time they came out. And of course, every time they rain, that's per DEQ, you have to come out and make sure things are in good shape. Also, if it doesn't rain, I think they have like every 10 days or so. So, I mean, I paid enough money. But at the same time, what the requirement is 80% germination or stabilization. Back in March, soil consultants looked at the project was finished, the last of the houses. It's a hydroseed lawn that I have in there as a contract with my homeowners. That's a starter lawn. We had to go ahead and make sure it was mowed, watered, etc. And then, of course, once the homeowner moves in, their property, they go ahead and take care of their lawn or their starter lawn. So it's not necessarily 100% every single blade is perfect. That's what our starter lawn is, a hydroseed lawn. So in March, the last of the houses and all of the properties had 80% germination, and that was at the as-built. So soil consultants gave a report. I think you have it, that copy from last at the work session that I left here, along with a copy of the bond, and that is dated by them back in March 30th. Erin came out and it says right here, grass is in germination. It is finalized. That's on this sheet. So when we look at this document, this bond, it goes into detail what it is and the amount, etc. And it also says expressly agreed by all parties hereto that it is the purpose and intent of this agreement to install installation, maintenance, and performance. You have the bond. I think you can read this part. But it says in accordance with the construction plans, etc. So it was my understanding that this was during construction. It's not only my understanding at the time, it's my firm belief that if we read through this, that's what it is for. It's a bond for during construction. Construction has finished. Your paid-for engineer said that we have the 80% germination, so therefore they stopped the inspections. It's finished. So therefore, this, I feel, was completed a while ago. I know we got a little derailed, with the homeowner at the last minute when that homeowner didn't even have a problem. That was one of the best yards. The middle yard was not, because they didn't take care of it as much. I have pictures of tall grass. We've gone over all this, no maintenance. In fact, I even have some pictures of the Blakemans in the early days where they had a little bit of tall grass. They took care of their lawn. When you look at it at the as-built, which we're talking now back some months ago, that in fact looked really nice. Now, whether they didn't deal with weed control or whatever else, I really don't want to get into that, because that's not what this bond I'm asking for release is about. This bond is for a bond that was for during construction. So anyway, so we go down the line, and now we're at a point where, and I understand Chris, manager, and Emily, they're here different things. So Chris even said, I'm going to give this to the board to handle. I think the mayor, you had mentioned to me in person back a couple of 2-3 weeks ago that you thought you left it for them to approve it. But I think when I spoke to Chris, he said, look, the board is vested now in this. There's so much conversation. And so, of course, let's continue on and let's vote it, and I appreciate that. So the way that was handled was, let's get the town engineer, again, Katie from Christopher Consultants. She is the one who approved the original construction plans, who, of course, looked at the as-built and approved, and that's why you voted on the big construction bond to be released. So we go to now thank you for getting this report for tonight. I know that tonight was contingent on getting this, that you thought you might have it, but, and so I do appreciate you pushing on that. So when we look at this report, she goes into great detail, starts at the beginning with the construction plan, goes into detail about it being completed. The soil consultant's inspection, which is for the bond for during construction, that inspection saying it's finalized. We have 80% germination per the code, citing different things. She also goes into detail on some sparse areas of grass and everything. Again, this is a starter lawn. When the homeowners move in, they take care of that lawn thereafter. They're supposed to. Just like any of us might take care of weeds in our grass. We don't have perfect lawn from the beginning. We have to maintain it. But she also went into detail that there were a couple areas that referenced sparse and or grading that had to do with a patio that the homeowner installed, which I did not. That was after they moved in on their accord. I don't know if you know that. I don't think you need a permit for that, for the patio, but that was there. And there was also a playground that's installed. In fact, I spoke to the person who owns Hambleton Lawn Service, Rob, because when I heard about all this, I was like, what is an $11,000 bid to correct my lawn? I'm a responsible builder. I haven't done this for 5 years. I'm not going to reveal my age, but you probably can surmise. This is, I try and do the right thing. And in fact, even after Chris had mentioned to me a month or two ago about something about this, I called the homeowner. No response. Never heard from them in 15 months. They're in well over a year. Called up Kevin. I got it all in my text. Tried to reach him after I couldn't reach Catherine. I saw her outside. She said she was on a phone call. I said, no problem. Please call me when you're finished. She kept on walking with the phone. I gave her a couple hours, then tried to call her back. I texted her. I left a message for her. I then said, well, let me call Kevin, the homeowner. I had a good relationship with these. It wasn't just but 3 months ago they had changed their range. I guess they upgraded range. I don't know. It had nothing to do with my range after the year after. And they smelled the gas leak. So, as a responsible builder, I don't want that. I said, well, it might have been who did that, changed it for you, but I'll go ahead and, I sent my plumber over once, twice. We finally fixed it. She had a foyer light. It's a transformer. They're having problems with that. There's 2 out of the 3 homeowners have the same foyer light. But she said, with COVID, I don't want to have you come in. I said, well, that's okay, but I'll drop it off, and then, you can call me, when you're ready. Finally, I said, I got to take it back for credit. She said, okay. I said, well, we'll have masks on everything. We did that. This was all within 2 or 3 months of all this going on. I still have not heard anything. This is the first time, and I was hoping they were going to stay and talk with us. But anyway, that is separate and nothing to do with my bond release. So anyway, so Katie goes into Crystal Consultants, continues to go on, does reference things that are on the homeowner, and Hambleton Lawn Service with that bid said that, it didn't help that the patio was installed as far as grading and stuff. So there's other stuff in here, but finally, Katie goes into detail about that she did go ahead and review the as-built, and everything was pretty much in accordance, and that's why the bigger bond was released, and that she goes into, at the time of the as-built, we had 80% germination, and I guess that's why the first inspector released it also. And so she recommends in the area, in the end, that, and because there is no notice to me, if there was something, I would have fixed it, but there was no notice to me, and she does reference that without that, and with the other stuff in here, and the 80%, which is the big thing, that in fact, that this bond should be released. And so I'm asking you to please make a motion for one bond to be released, tree bond, for a second bond to be released. And I just don't, I mean, it's not only my time, it's the town's time. I mean, I think this is fair. I mean, this is boring construction, and I think we've gone past that. And now we have the engineer, the final, plus I think that's what the town wants to see. What does the engineer say? And she's finally made it very clear. And thank you for your time. I don't want to go into every little detail of this letter from her, but if you've read the bond itself, and then you've read this in detail, every word, as I've done 3 times or so, I really feel it should be released. Thank you for your time. Or if you have any questions of me.
Okay, we'll start off with Chris Kuhn.
Yes, council. So I can also just reach out, Martin, if you can hear me. So the way the town code is written, it's that the zoning administrator would be the one to release the bonds with the approval. So we brought this to town council, but now after looking at everything, this is something where we can still have the vote, but the way the town code is, and Martin, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it should be released by the zoning administrator. So I'll just let Martin speak to that real quick.
Doesn't need to come to council. Council can just kick it back to the staff to handle.
So that's just something that I wanted you guys to know, that we got you involved in July, but still moving forward, if you guys want to just kick it back to us, it can be handled with Emily, because that's how it is in the town code. So I just wanted you guys to know, because there was some back and forth with the mayor handling it with council, and then staff can handle it. So I just wanted to get that clarified with Martin here. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one question. So we can make a motion tonight and vote on it, and that's it, or it goes back to you?
At this point, either one. If you guys want to make the motion and move forward to release it, if you guys just want to kick it back to staff, with Katie being the one, with Katie being the one that did this report, and it shows that since there was 80% coverage, the requirement, and that's what was met, then it would end up getting released. So this is something where you guys can either make the affirmative motion tonight or just kick it to council, and we will take care of it. So at this point, it's up to you guys.
I just didn't know if, one way or the other, we need to get this bond done.
Correct.
So,
May I add one more word on what Chris was saying? Chris had talked to me a couple of weeks ago. He said, look, the town is vested in this. They're going to need to vote on this. And now we have a different...
Speak into the mic to the...
Sorry, excuse me. So a couple of weeks ago, when I saw Chris in person, he said, and I mentioned what you said, that they had the right, or you thought you gave direction for them to vote on this. He expressly said to me that, no, there's been enough discussion on this. The town is vested, quote his words, and we're just going to have them vote on it. I really am concerned if all of a sudden now this goes the other route, where he's suggesting possibly that even with a vote, that it would go back to him for them to discuss it more. And so I can't tell you what to do, but I really would appreciate if a vote was done, and that'd be final.
My intent is either to get a vote on it or direct it back to our administrators to take action on it with our decision. What I'd like to do is just do a circle of the dais, get comments, and then either somebody can put a motion in or we can give a directive. Okay, so we'll start, I guess, to the right of me. Bob?
Discussion? I'm willing to have the board go, the council, you want me to unmute? There we go. Mic's off too? That's on. I'm willing to go ahead and, let the town council dispense with this. Personally, I'm going to abstain just because I'm not going to vote in favor of it, and I don't want to make it worse by voting no. But the whole process has yet again raised some issues with me. In looking at the report, I don't like an objective report to have language in it that includes the words appears to have met. I want a definitive statement, and there, there's a question as to whether a final engineering and ENS control inspection was or has been done. And there's a discussion that it needs to be done in the future. I think this is something else that we need to nail down. This is yet another one that we inherited for some actions done in June. Personally, given what I've observed, I'm not comfortable with releasing it. But given the report by the town engineer, I don't think we have much choice. I'm going to politely abstain from the matter.
Vice Mayor, your comments?
I can get unmuted.
You can just touch the screen. Yeah.
So I've been abstaining from this process due to previous involvement, so I'll leave it at that.
Councilman Shannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm ready to make a motion, but I'm anxious to hear what Councilman Morris has to say as well.
You are anxious. You're anxious?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, anxious.
Councilman Morris?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. First of all, thank you for coming again. You did not have to go through that long speech again, okay? But I appreciate it. The town staff has provided, in my opinion, what it is that we ask for. I do have one question for clarification. Are you suggesting that the 2-year period starts in March of 2020 or at the date of planting the trees?
Well, I would like to see that, the bond is one bond. I want to do what's fair, what's right. I mean, the bond is one bond. If we had all homes finishing right at the same time, there would not be a question of that. So I'd love to see if you divvied up the bond into 3 houses. But I don't know if you'll do that, but I think we have to have a measure of when the holdback, the last 10% is released. For me to bring in an invoice showing when an install of the trees here or there, I think the better way for the town would be it had to be in at the time of occupancy permit that was issued by the town, so why don't we use that as a date?
Trees were not all planted at the same time?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. So I would, to just briefly finish up with that, if it could be voted to, during these times, we all need as much as we can to keep our businesses going. But if it could be divvied up into 3, then yeah, I would be looking at something that was installed 15 months ago and 14 months ago would be released sooner. The last one is March. That would be 2 years from this last March. But that is the town's vote on that. We're talking about the last 10%.
And I guess my question to Emily is this possible to release them on a timely basis, in accordance to when they were planted? Miss Emily?
Question for you, Emily.
So in the past, all of the bond releases we've done for landscaping, it is 2 years after the date of the release of the bond. So if you guys make the vote tonight to release the bond, then on January 4th of 2023, the remaining 10% would be released.
So my question, thank you, Miss Emily. So my question back would be, would that be satisfactory? Because I'm ready to vote on this issue. I think you have held it out as far as being here, being diligent in being here.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, I think you have been diligent in seeing the process through. I think all that we have asked for, it has been provided for us. And my opinion is that as a council, we need to act on it. If that gives you more assurance, just so you know, if we don't vote on it, it would be a directive that the staff receives to go ahead and release the bonds. So it's not going back to staff for discussion. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going back to staff for discussion. It is going back to staff with a directive to release it. So there's a difference. So you won't be going back and forth with Emily or with Chris, correct?
Correct. And then I can just add one thing to it. In addition with what Emily said, where normally it's 2 years from the bond release, I think staff and how long this has taken, it wouldn't be out of the question to actually release it 2 years from the approval of the as-built, which was June of 2020.
Yes.
So that way, the full amount would be able to be released in June of 2022, so a little bit earlier, but I don't think that's out of the question for us to use the as-built as the 2 years, since, this did take a little bit longer than the normal bond release process.
I think it would be fair too, if that's okay with you. But Mr. Mayor, I'm ready to move on and vote in favor of this, the bonds, both of them being released and 10% being withheld until June of 2022. Are you anxious? No, I don't know.
Let's, we got 2 more members left. Marchant?
I don't know, can you?
I'm going to take it. So, just Tony, thank you for going through this process. We've had a lot of change over the last several months in unusual working conditions. So I appreciate the fact that it's taken you longer than you probably wanted it to get to that conclusion. This report did come out with some interesting suggestions and conclusions. Obviously, it's your ticket and your dime, but it has been helpful to us to understand a little bit more about our process. So I have a couple of questions of staff real quick. So first of all, this is labeled draft. This is the final that went out, what we have.
Well, for it to be final, it would just, council needs to approve it, but yeah, this is the draft report that Katie presented.
So it talks in here that in May, the as-bills were submitted in May and approved in June. That was simply an ministerial approval based simply on the as-bills.
And that's what was provided in July.
Okay. So one of Katie's recommendations is that we conduct a final engineering and erosion control inspection. Is that something Katie would need to do in addition to reviewing the as-bills?
Yes.
Physically go out there? Okay. And that's feedback you guys can take back and implement?
In amongst to changing zoning and different things like that, that would just gonna end up getting rolled into everything else, yes.
So that's good feedback.
Mhm.
Understanding that it is outside the purview of the bond, Katie did raise an issue about the ponding in the back. That was on page 3. Is that something you have the ability to address or can address? This was
Well, the
saying
ponding in the back,
is
as
a
far as
drainage area?
grass, she did reference 2 things the homeowner had done.
Okay.
But also
Please.
going,
In the mic.
excuse me, she did address 2 additions the homeowner did, which was the patio and the playground, which did affect grading, and it affected sparse seed. In fact, when I spoke to Hamilton, who they had talked with, he said the same thing. It did not help. Quote Rob Hamilton's words, that the patio didn't help with grading. So wherever that is, we have also a save area, do not disturb area on the existing site plan that's approved by the town. When we say do not disturb, that means we cannot even go in it. So if you went right next to the back of the fence and 1 foot over saw some ponding water, we're not allowed. It says it right there to do that. So where that is, or say, for example, it's a little bit low, I think, on the side of the homeowner to the right of 6675. They're the ones who have the culvert drainage that's, smashed down. So that, when you get a real bad storm, I'm talking about a real bad storm. I saw it. I even told Emily when it went into the commercial parking lot. So if you had an adjacent property like that, or if you had next to the town where the fence is in the rear of the property, 6675, and it's low there, I mean, you can have that. But again, Katie, Christopher Consultants, who did this report, also looked at the as-built, the grading, the as-built. And the as-built, just in case there is somebody who does not understand that, obviously it's an as-built, but that's where my engineer actually goes out and prepares the same grading plan and actually puts spot elevations of the thing. And then it's given to the town, which then went to Katie, who then looked at it, who then approved the construction bond. And so, and she mentions that in here. So, if a homeowner had called me and said, hey, I got a little problem with something, I would have at least gone out. But I don't think there's anything here, especially with them, with the patio, with the playground, et cetera, and not taking care of the lawn since then. I think it says in here that the homeowner said that they ceased to really do much more with their maintenance. So I would say there's nothing more really for me to do here.
I think Emily has a comment on that as well. Emily, you have something?
Yeah, so first, they did get all the permits approved to the patio, and just so everybody's aware, I just wanted to go ahead and bring up this one image when we're talking about ponding.
Okay, can I finish my statement?
Yes, sorry.
So, the specific paragraph, this is on page 3, the first paragraph, almost near the end. It says, the drainage area was not adequately analyzed by the design engineer. The swale is not a defined channel and does not have enough slope to convey off the rear of the yards to an adequate outfall. Alleviation of the ponding would require an engineering solution. So it sounds like what you just said, you're of the opinion that the patio and other things that they did contributed to this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, at the as-built, which was before the patio, before the playground, et cetera, Katie went ahead and looked at the as-built, went on site, and recommended to approve the bond release. And inside that, again, last thing, inside that construction plan with the big bond release is the erosion and sediment control plan, which is the device how we deal with erosion and sediment control.
Before you go to that question, I'm of the opinion, I would agree with other council members that since we had more or less put it to the council for a vote, we should formally send it back, and I will be supporting the motion to instruct the zoning administrator to release the bond. So, thanks.
And then I wanted a little bit of clarification. This is the middle yard that actually, I think she was referencing some of the ponding issues about the swale and stuff like that. That's the middle yard, not the end yard. So that's just to get everybody, and that is after. So no, this is actually the middle yard. This isn't even that last yard, and this is about 4 to 6 inches deep. So that's when we're talking about some of the ponding, because what's happening is it's ponding here and then it's coming into the yard. So that's where at the far left end of where the fence is, because it's coming from the middle over. So when we're talking about some of the ponding and, when it rains and stuff, and this wasn't a terrible rain because it was actually Mayor and myself, we walked over there. I mean, it wasn't terrible rain. It rained a couple hours beforehand. But so this is when we were talking about the ponding, just so everybody knows what we're talking about. It's the middle that's coming from there and coming over.
So that's the middle lot.
That's the middle lot. So talking about the patio, it's
Right.
the completely other
Right.
side of the yard, and it's actually the back of the yard and set up close to the house, just so we're all talking about the same thing. But
So
I
right
think we've
there-
already discussed it in its entirety. I just wanted everybody to be on the same page.
I'll address that. I have no knowledge of that. I mean, that had to be a substantial rain. I mean, look at the amount of water there. And some of these deluges that we've had, these, I call them superstorms. I mean, we have one culvert next to 6675, this is the middle lot, the one to the right, that smashed with the homeowner there, and, and they'd have to go through the expensive, but just one culvert with the deluge of rain, we saw, and Emily can attest that I called her about this, it went all the way into the commercial property's parking lot. So that could have been that, but I have no good relation with them, and they've never told me anything about that. In fact, I got it right here in front of me where they signed off saying that they have no problems with the yard. So.
Let me start.
Again, this is sediment and erosion control during construction. This isn't something that, and again, we have your engineer who actually did the as-built and looked at grades. So I don't know if they changed something there as well. She had been doing something, but I can't imagine she shoveled out a hole. But I don't think there's a problem there.
Are you done, Marchand? Okay, Joe, it's your turn.
I understand because I'm at a disadvantage. Sometimes I can hear, sometimes I can't. That this is in our ordinance that an issue for the zoning administrator. Did I hear that correct? Okay, I see Martin nodding his head. Okay. I'm fine with sending it with a directive back to the zoning administrator to handle this. I think there's some really interesting comments around the board here.
Is that your mic?
Not Dominic's issue, but something that I think process-wise, something, a lesson learned. We need to look at that last paragraph of the report, as Marchant noted, and incorporate that into our processes. We've got a lot of stuff coming up here, and we want to make sure we do it right. Not to say this wasn't done right, but we want to make sure that we follow the process. So I'm ready to move forward.
Just one quick rebuttal, Bob.
One quick final comment on this. I'm going to politely stay out, but I think Marchant's hit the nail on the head, and this sort of gets to what I was trying to get at with respect to the last paragraph. And when you look at the paragraph regarding the swale and the engineering design and the analysis, all I can take from that paragraph is that at some point in the time, we, the town, failed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, there's not an adequate slope. It says it right here. There's not an adequate slope for that yard to carry off that runoff, and we've had that happen far too often in this town. We've had stormwater issues in virtually every neighborhood that I can think of, some worse than others, and just another example of here we go again.
So I think we have a good enough consensus here. Just to make a quick vote, I say let's direct this to our staff to close this bond out, even though we have found faults in our processes. That's something that's on our backs to prepare or repair and figure out what to do.
The mayor thought the consensus was for us to vote on it and finish it
Okay.
at this level.
Then put a motion out there.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to present a motion to have both bonds, the erosion control bond released and the landscape bond released. The landscape bond would release and held in escrow, 10% be held in escrow for 2 years beginning in June of 2020.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. Everyone ready for a vote? Looks like we are.
Weir,
Abstain.
Hayter,
Abstain.
Shannon,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Passanello,
Yes.
Okay, looks like the motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman.
Thank you. Thank you, Don.
Staff.
Okay, and we'll go on to the next agenda item, which is the resolution. Bob, I'll let you start since you participated in writing this on your defense.
I'm all in favor of it there. I'll keep it short.
Vice Mayor,
In favor?
Which one?
resolution.
In favor.
Council Sam,
In favor, yes, sir, in favor.
Council Morris, Council Schneider, and Councilman Joe Pinella. Passanello.
I'm sorry.
I do that every time, sorry, Joe. Passanello.
Close enough. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion. What was the motion?
This is, there's no motion, it's just.
No motion, just a discussion. Everyone's saying, yeah, they accept it. There's no discussion required. Comments for you.
Do I need to make the resolution?
No comments from you then, Joe?
Regarding the resolution?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the process here? Should we read the resolution?
Yeah,
or
well, you can't
we just
read it.
need to make a motion and vote?
I can read it. I've got it.
Yeah, you can read it, Joe.
Looks like he wants to say something.
Here, I'll read it.
I haven't seen a written resolution on this.
Here.
Okay.
Good. You going for it,
For
Bob?
Martin's benefit, I'll read it in real quick.
Can you also let them know the legislative services reviewed it?
They did?
I thought you said they did.
Oh, they reviewed the language of the legislation, not the resolution. Resolution of support for House District Number 13, Delegate Danica Rome's bill that provides for a town elected official to serve on the Board of Zoning Appeals of a county in which they reside, whereas Section 15.2/2308 of the Code of Virginia relates to boards of zoning appeals to be created, membership, organization, etc. Whereas 15.2/2308 paragraph A states members of the board shall hold no other office in the locality except that one may be a member of the local planning commission, and any member may be appointed to serve as an officer of election as defined in 24.2/101. And whereas Virginia House Delegate Danica Rome proposes a bill to amend and reenact subsection 15.2/2308 paragraph A of the Code of Virginia relating to Board of Zoning Appeals appointments, and whereas the amendment and reenactment of section 15.2/2308 paragraph A clarifies the qualification and eligibility to serve on a Board of Zoning Appeals, and whereas the amendment and reenactment of 15.2/2308 paragraph A amends the section to include any elected official of an incorporated town may serve on the board of the county in which the member also resides. Now therefore be it resolved that the Haymarket Town Council supports Virginia House Delegate Danica Rome's bill to amend and reenact 15.2/2308 of the Code of Virginia.
I second, sir.
And I would move the resolution.
Sorry about that, I had to find my screen again. Okay, I got a motion and a second. I think we had enough discussion on it. Put it up for a vote.
Ware?
Aye.
Pater? Yes. Shannon?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Casanello?
Abstain.
Okay, that takes us to the liaison reports. Finance?
I was going to let Joe handle it.
As far as the finance goes, I think we're moving along nicely. I wanted to let council know that we continue to follow our checks and balances process, even though I haven't been coming into the office. We continue to do so virtually with Roberto and Chris when necessary. Bob is keeping close track on the expenses and the check process, so I can assure you that that continues to flow smoothly. Other than that, I'll hold any other comments until Roberto's report.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the police liaison, which right now has been deactivated at this point. But we'll play off of the chief's report when the report time comes up for that. Architectural Review Board, you got a
Mr.
question,
Mayor,
quick?
Could I bring up just one, and I'm just kind of confused on one thing. Back in, I guess it was June or July, the council, we all elected Chris to be the liaison. And I guess he had to step back, that you were taking that role. I'm just kind of curious as, you know, what the history of that is, because I would think if he was voted unanimously, why he was removed. I know I didn't know anything about it. And I'm just trying to understand the history of this.
No real history. He said he didn't want to have any type of conflicting coordination that would go on between, I guess, what I was deriving with my point of view statements and everything else, and him as liaison. So he backed off. I mean, as you can see, I've had inactivity towards this since that last report. I guess just to keep the council at bay, we can enact him back into taking full authority of that again, if that's okay.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. That I would recommend that, because again, I was surprised that he was, or I wasn't aware that he had actually volunteered to step back. But I just think that liaison is that important, and I think it goes back on your POV paperwork that you put a lot of time and effort into. So I'm not knocking that. Please understand that. But I would think some of that could have been refuted or whatever definitely by the chief, but maybe even by Chris Morris as well. So I would just, for my feeling is, I'd definitely like to see him back in that active role. We've had a discussion on hires and stuff, and he's got some ideas that I think may work. I'm still opposed to anything other than hiring a 6th police officer. But Councilman Morris definitely has an alternative that hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn here, Chris, that I know that he'd like to speak with you about, and then ultimately get with the chief there. So, okay, thanks, sir.
Okay, Chris, you're back on.
Thank you, sir.
I'll give you a breather, though. I'm sure you don't have any information that you want to give since you've been kind of stepped out over the last month.
And just for the record, I purposely stepped back, Mr. Mayor, because I purposely stepped back so as not to cause any conflict, because I know you were working with the department directly. And I didn't want to have 2 council members inside there, you know, dealing with the chief. And I assume you were talking to the chief, you were going through details with the chief, and that's why I told you that I will not continue to serve there in that position if you're doing it.
Okay, well, I'm backing off, so you're back in charge.
Extra pay.
Did you say thank God?
Extra
Did
pay.
you say thank God a while ago? You heard that, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, so we'll move on to the Architectural Review Board.
The meeting was canceled last month due to lack of quorum, so we'll pick up in January.
Okay, Planning Commission.
Not much going, well, not much that really doesn't concern this council yet, but we have started the review of the zoning text amendments. We still have the SUP for QBE, which, God willing, we dispose of this month. We'll see. I don't foresee any reason that it should continue past this month, but if all goes well, we should see a recommendation from the Planning Commission on the QBE SUP in time for next month's meeting.
Okay, and I look at the land planning, the zoning, and, you know, the what went on with the site plans and the puddling that's going on here, and some of the activity that's been going on with QBE and the Meladon property, Fairgrounds, as a definitely something that we need to start outlining what our policies are and come up with a flow chart. And I've mentioned that behind the scenes, but we definitely need to start trying to get staff and planning commission together and actually come up with what the control gates are, document requirements are, and everything else. I know you said in the past that there was this, but the last leadership
Actually,
removed it.
Councilman Passanello and I researched this a little bit, and I knew it rang a bell. We actually reaffirmed those policies in July, and it does have a step-by-step, this is what to expect, you know, this is the process. I think one of the problems that perhaps something that we need to address is, in order to make it work properly, the council or the planning commission needs to designate someone, either a member of staff, whomever, to ensure that the checklist is complete prior to an application being accepted, which sets off a variety of triggers with respect to timing and, you know, when meetings are scheduled and when public hearings are scheduled and that sort of thing. So there needs to be a single point of contact, at least in my mind, that exists within that framework that's already established to take care of making sure that everything is done, and then we don't have the problem of, you know, I submitted my application in November and I'm due a public hearing in December. That's not how it works. Your application it's not formally accepted until all of the materials are there. You know, neither staff nor the planning commission nor the public can be expected to make a rational decision or an informed decision on an application if all the parts aren't there to review. I mean, it's very much a data-driven kind of process and information process, so we just need to ensure that we're following our guidelines. I mean, we readopted them, now it's just a matter of making sure that we're doing them.
Yeah, and I'm assuming our point of contact is our land planner, and she has some feedback that she would like to contribute. Emily?
So I was just going to suggest, as the Planning Commission liaison, Bob, if you're free Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, we could go over this checklist and just finalize it, print a bunch of copies. I can put it on the website, and we can just put this to bed once and for all.
I will be more than happy.
Okay, after my meeting with Vice Mayor, or before, I'm free.
I would like to see what time limits are associated with, you know, when this is triggered, 30 days, this happens or needs to happen. If you could add that to it as well.
That's actually by and large in there. The key component that has been largely ignored, and I believe intentionally ignored by previous editions of this body, are the requirements that start the clock ticking. In other words, applicants were not required to have all of their paperwork in hand. They were essentially, the requirement was unilaterally waived, to my knowledge, without the knowledge of the rest of the council. So, I mean, that's just something. I guess some applicants now have an expectation that they're going to get the same treatment, level of service that they got previously, and I think we made a concerted effort, or we voiced concerns with that past system, and that they just simply need to realize that it's back to doing it by the book and playing by the rules.
And I totally agree with that, but I think we definitely need to make sure that this is out on our webpage, visible, all our policies and flow charts are there. Something that's easy for somebody to decipher, especially a graphic for most graphic-minded people would be great. Joe, you have something on this?
I agree with what I've heard here, particularly about the timeline and the graphics. But the other important issue is going to be making sure that the Planning Commission members understand it as well. And that'll probably be Emily's job, or making sure that they understand the process itself. That's been in effect since May of 2010, because I just pulled it out again. And it would be helpful to reinforce that, Emily, if you could do that at the Planning Commission level. So I concur.
Marchant, you have a comment?
Yes, I would like to, Bob, if you're okay with that, I would like to be in on that conversation on Wednesday if I'm available.
Not a
I think
problem.
we do, as a smaller jurisdiction, have the ability to be nimble, and I think we should be able to move more quickly than the larger county organization, but there needs to be a balance between a reasonable application that's put together with the right amount of information, but we should be able to move somewhat faster, and we shouldn't go so far as to be able to expedite if they meet those minimum information requirements for us to be able to move forward. A lot of the policies that we reaffirmed in July date back before we had a full-time planner, and before we also, the commission was handling a lot of the workload in terms of accepting, processing, and ultimately recommending. So it probably makes sense for us to reaffirm or reevaluate and see what part of that checklist or part of that memorandum is now by default the Emily's job, and then try to narrow what the commission can have input on. So happy to sit on Wednesday and look forward to the discussion. Thanks.
I think one of the options we have is simply designate Emily as the designee. I mean, that's, you know, it's that simple.
Correct. I mean, my experience has been the board sets the checklist, and then we split off to the, I do get nervous as we as a council start dictating for,
You're not nimble enough.
I swear this is a generational moment. I used to be nimble with stuff. But anyway, as I was saying, it's been my experience that most jurisdictions, you set the checklist and you send it to the staff to administer. I do get nervous when we start to insert ourselves in minimum submission requirements, but I understand that's out of necessity given what we're dealing with right now. But that would be my ultimate goal, is for the council to be able to put that onto the planner, let that process be clear and transparent, and then just wait for those materials to come to us in time.
And that's what I'd like to see happen. When it comes to nimbleness, though, as you know, trying to delegate public hearings and the timeframes involved, it's kind of hard when your hands are tied for nimbleness.
All that being said, when's good for you, Emily? When? Now that you have to deal with two people.
You just have to ask Tracy Lynn when she's coming to town hall.
Are you going to keep it short? What time?
We just have to double check everything, but probably around 2 o'clock.
So you'll be done in less than an hour?
Yes.
3 o'clock on Thursday? Or is that not good for you? 3 o'clock on Thursday.
If it changes, I'll let you know.
Hey, Marshawn,
I'm coming Wednesday.
I just want to add to your clear,
I think she thinks you come
transparent,
Thursday.
that it be consistently applied.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, I think we hit that on. Last chance for any type of questions for Planning Commission liaison. Okay, we'll move on to the business roundtable.
So we didn't have a meeting in December, but we will be having one on January 12th at 8:30 in the morning here at Town Hall. We're going to set up a Zoom option so that anybody who would like to attend, and then like Chris had mentioned before, it will be recorded. We're going to discuss upcoming options and the CARES Act results.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor, is there a maximum number of individuals that can attend on the Zoom call?
I think with our Zoom, I think it's 100 participants. I think that's the account that we have, but we haven't been anywhere near that.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Now, whether our internet infrastructure can handle it's a different story, right?
Well, they would use their own internet to participate in the Zoom. It's just we would have one of the laptops would be here, and we have an agenda. We can share the screen. We'd be the host, but it shouldn't be an issue.
It's my hope that that will entice more businesses to attend.
And that's some of the stuff we'll be discussing, is potentially doing one in January, like 8 in the morning, and then in February, maybe we'll do one at 6:15 in the afternoon to try and swing every other so that some businesses can still come in. Because I have talked to a couple that they say that, 6 would work a little bit better. So, and this is just all that's happening from those businesses reaching out to just discuss different options.
Marshawn?
Tracy, is there other ways that we can help you? I talked earlier about those businesses that are typically hard to engage or harder to engage through the normal Facebook and other means. This just came to mind, but I haven't had a chance to talk to Chief yet, is when the police is doing their business checks, if there's a flyer that they can hand out, maybe that person-to-person contact, and then have the police say, call you, or if there's another way that we can go out directly, maybe divide and conquer businesses and making an effort for us as each council member to call a business or at least check in with a business, either physically in person or obviously with COVID.
No, I agree. It was one of the things when you had mentioned that my thought process was going in regards to a personal reach out with a visit. I was at the very beginning reaching out, calling businesses and personally inviting them. Maybe not knowing me as well or just knowing that we were in the beginning. I'm more than happy to revisit that, but yes, I do agree that we need to do something along those lines.
If we can divide and conquer and help you, please let us know.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's time to move on to the department reports. Got the town administration staff report.
Yes. So a couple things I just want to touch base on. One, with the CARES Act extension. What we're still going to do is we'll have a comprehensive report of everything that we were able to do in 2020. So that includes all the different nonprofit monies that we donated. Ended up being $105,000 to different nonprofit organizations. So I'm going to compile all that information into the number of individuals and families that were fed, how many people had the rent and mortgage assistance, electricity assistance, all those different numbers. Same thing with the video. So we'll have a full comprehensive report for the CARES Act stuff, what had happened in 2020, and then that's where we can kind of use that to help show what was successful. To include the voucher program, I did end up getting the number of those that were used. It was just under 59%, so it was 58% usage. So we sent out, it was $46,000 in vouchers, and it was like $25,000 and some change that ended up getting used. And that was just, 1 month of usage. So that's something that's actually a really, really good usage rate. So I'm happy with that. I do apologize for the lack of reports. As you guys know, with the holidays and everything that was going on, I just didn't get to those. So that's why there's only 2 for December, but I'll be sure to catch up with all the expenses that were over $3,000. And then the only other thing I had is, I know there's a lot of discussion about the DMV and everything else. I apologize that I wasn't able to be here for the work session. We have thought through countless different scenarios and different options and different buildings and things like that. So what will happen is at the next work session, I'm going to come with a full and comprehensive report to have the majority, if not all, of your questions answered so that we can make the ultimate decision and be done with it. I think, there's a lot of what ifs at play, but we're going to do a comprehensive report and give it to you guys, and then that's what you can use to make the ultimate decision. And that is all that I have, so I stand ready to answer any questions.
I saw Joe's hand first.
Question. Chris, I want to commend you on the handling of the CARES Act money. I think you did a superior job. It was very time consuming, so I just want to recognize you for that. With the remaining funds that don't have to be spent until December 31st, 2021 in this latest bill, what are you thinking about, aside from maybe another video or what have you, what are some of your thoughts on the uses of those funds?
So that's something that I have actually spoken to a little bit. I've got a couple different options that I'd like to present to the business roundtable, because I think where the businesses are feeling the hurt or feeling the strain, that's probably some place that we either need to investigate or look into to try and help them. So that's really my main focus, is trying to get that communication with the business roundtable so we can kind of get an idea, because where they were hurting back in October may not be the same place they're hurting now. So those are kind of some of the things that I want to get the feedback from them. And then the same thing, reach out to the community, see if there's anything else, with the different nonprofits that we reached out to, if there's any additional need or anything like that. So I just want to try and make sure that we're providing the aid where the aid is most needed. Exactly. Yes, sir.
Any other comments for the town manager? Okay, we'll move on to the police chief report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have the December report. You can see I'll give you a report on the full-time and the part-time vacancy positions we have. Currently, we have no applicants. Advertising on 4 or 5 different websites and Facebook pages. We haven't received any interest. We did interview one subject that was left over from the last go-around. I emailed you about that. It just didn't work out. So we're in a holding pattern now, just seeing if anything will drum up. Right now, every single department in the area is hiring, and most are bigger and pay more than us, so they're getting all the applicants. Plus, with COVID and the atmosphere surrounding police right now, it's hard to get applicants. So We currently still have the schedule staffed at 24-hour coverage. We're not at a breaking point yet, but, you know, we'll burn out officers, especially the part-time officer who stepped up into the full-time spot, if this keeps going for a long time. But it's Officer Anderson that had stepped up. He's fine right now. We're okay. We won't compromise. We'll wait for the right applicant or applicants, because we have multiple positions open now. But we did partner with the Haymarket Baptist Church. Their parishioners voted to release, I think they bought 10 vouchers at Sheetz for fuel, and 10 vouchers at McDonald's for food vouchers. And they gave us a $500 gift card to be used at the local hotel off of Davis Store Road in case we run into any homeless parties or people that are stranded off the interstate, people that need fuel, need food, need shelter, especially during the cold times. So they're going to keep that going as long as we need it. It's a great partnership. It's needed. We don't have a lot of that in the area, but it's not only just homeless, but it could be anyone that breaks down on the interstate or just around here in general. So that's going to be good. We did have the winter weather event this past month. Everything went great. We did have all the lights go down at the Divergent Diamond for about 5 hours during the middle of the night. We were able to put several of the police cars out there with the lights on to help slow down traffic. Luckily, it was at night during a winter storm, so it wasn't a whole lot, but that was the extent of the issues there. So that's all I have. Stand ready to answer any questions.
I see Bob with his hand up.
Yes, sir.
No?
I guess got one simple question. What's the issue with Cruiser 7, and which one is it?
The issue with 7, that would be the spare vehicle.
The black unmarked?
The black unmarked. It has a...
I'm good.
Okay.
Joe, I see your hand up.
I think it's important that we recognize that somebody had an anniversary, I believe, if my calculations are correct, celebrating their 4th year as the chief in the town of Haymarket, and wanted to acknowledge that, Kevin.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Oh, got a little feedback there. So congratulations on that. I was just looking at the East End speed sign, so I'm going to make the assumption that the total number of vehicles is because we had it down from, I guess, the battery or wasn't being recharged or something.
That actually was the West End speed sign that was down. That is back up. I forgot to remove the parentheses underneath it. The East End sign, you're right, is lower than the West End sign. And like you said, it's nothing wrong with the sign. I got a full 30-day readout. It just may, like you said, may have not charged during some of the cloudy days.
Liven it up somehow. Chris, you want to say something?
No, you go again. Sorry, we didn't hear you say that again.
Oh, I was just curious of whether there's a way that we can energize that, maybe through hard wiring or something if necessary, so that we don't lose that downtime.
So I'll contact the manufacturer. I can tell you that what they told me last time, the signs are old. They don't necessarily make parts for them anymore. Now, hardwiring it, that's probably still a possibility. I'll do some research into that.
Hey, Joe, I have some jumper cables and a battery in my car. We don't
want to hear about your private life.
Okay, yeah. I guess I have one comment, too. I've noticed we've been having a lot of our street lights either not powered up or dark. Is there any way we can kind of relay that to the night officers to at least make a note of it and report that back to the town manager?
Yes, sir. I've been working with the town planner on that. She worked on the main issue that we had with the hotel, I guess, hitting one of the lines and knocking them out. Once they came back online, I called Emily and realized that there was still a ton of them out in the different areas. I had the officer just last week go and mark every single post that was out with the yellow caution tape, and then I forwarded everything to Miss Emily, and it looks like she wants to speak on that.
I took off one yesterday. I didn't know. Just saw the yellow tape and took it off.
We have our electrician looking into it. We have had to order parts.
Can you say that again, Emily? I didn't get it in time.
It's okay. I was just saying that I've been working with Chris on that. We have our electrician involved. He's had to order some parts, so we are actively working on it, but quite a few of them went out at the same time, so it's taken a little bit.
So, Miss Emily, based on what the mayor's requesting, what's the time frame in between that you think would be best for us to report to you? I don't want to kind of step on each week. Just report to you the main ones, I mean, the list we have, and then give you a couple weeks to try to get them fixed?
So if you give us the complete list and then check back with us in about like a 2-week time frame, these parts are taking roughly a week to come in, and then we have to schedule Lewis to come up and do the install, which is sometimes upwards of another week. So it could be a couple-week turnaround here.
Okay, Mayor, well, I'll work with her on that.
And then there's also some that are Dominion. So what'll end up happening is when they report it to us, we actually have to reach out to Dominion to get the poll number and stuff like that. So we've got 2 different lights here in town. So all I was saying is sometimes it's also Dominion poles. So sometimes you'll have Dominion poles, sometimes you have street poles. So if it's a Dominion, we've got to just report it to Dominion with the poll number that's on it. And then if it's a street pole, then we got to go through everything Emily just described. So it does take a little bit once we identify the street lights that are out.
That's fine. I just wanted, since we don't have any type of maintenance crew, try to get everybody to keep focus on stuff. Marchant, you had a question?
I do. Chief, I'm noticing the in-town calls for October through December are higher than last year. Do you think that's just COVID and the holiday typically, or any observations on what might have spiked that? It's not huge, but it's noticeable.
So the in-town calls for service also include business checks.
Okay.
And because of COVID and the slow, everything is slowing down, and not even when it's not COVID during the wintertime, vehicle traffic slows down, crime slows down. The officers are doing increased business checks because they have more time to do that. So there's a higher number of that's pushing it. I would assume that that's the reason that it's pushing it.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, we'll move on then. Looks like the treasurer report.
Report. The main addition will be just the meals tax. We have collected, and even so, as of today, we actually collected 18 out of 19 businesses. So that revenue source is there. Right now, I'm in the midst of trying to, as the town manager said earlier, trying to reconcile the expenses for the CARES Act with him. Getting together with him on that. I'm also, to Councilman Ware's question, have reached out to my Virginia Taxation Department over the communications tax. I'm waiting to get word on that. Once I will update council, hopefully by the next meeting, have some more information on that. I am right now in the midst of actually working up a draft for next year's budget. I'm going to get together with the town manager and we'll be waiting on the chief to also review his portion of the budget, just to see what he wants to change or if anything. Once we get all that information, I'm hoping to get a rough draft by mid-February, sometime in February. Of course, we're going to meet with the finance liaisons when that is complete. Also getting ready to work on the few real estate taxes penalties that we have to send out, as well as getting ready to work on the business renewals license. And I am also waiting word on the CAFR report as to the status up to when it will be complete. I know that that's something we're all looking for, myself as well, because it helps a lot with the budget preparations. So a lot going on. If I didn't put it in that report, it's just there's a lot going on in the back right now behind the scenes I'm working on, but definitely will keep you informed. As far as this budget, I don't know if there's any specific questions the council may have or any specific line items that I would gladly try to address.
Anybody have any questions? How's the audit? Has that been completed?
So the audit, as far as I know, there's no major questions. There is nothing that's drawn a flag as of yet. Everything seems to be going well. Still a few questions here and there on items, but as far as I know, everything's going as planned. But once I hear back, I've reached out again to Michael just to check in with him to see if he has a timeline or an idea when we can anticipate that completion.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again, Roberto. Now we'll move on.
Joe's got a question. No.
Councilman Castanello?
Joe, you had a question? Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, well, just for clarification, if you can hear me, I hope you can hear me. Yeah, okay. The CAFR is the audit. That's the acronym for it. Roberto, is he going to give us a presentation like we discussed, something brief? Have you talked to him about that?
Yes, I have talked to him, and he is more than happy to make that happen for us this year. Usually that is an additional cost, but he understands we're being a whole new council, and for the request, he will definitely do it at no cost to the town this year. I asked him to go ahead for the next year if he can include an estimate as to how much it would be to have that report done by him once it's completed. But yes, he will be presenting. I'm not sure if it's going to be via Zoom or in person, but I do know that he has agreed to and will plan on presenting the CAFR or the completed audit.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on that to council, and I'll let Bob speak as well if necessary here. I think it'd be a good idea for all of us to sit through something like that, even though it's not the most scintillating kind of thing to listen to, but it gives us a better understanding of what's available, what are our assets, where are our values, what are restricted, unrestricted. It can be somewhat confusing, but I think if it's done properly, we can have a better level of understanding, so we know exactly where our assets are. So that's it for me.
Okay, I guess now we can move on. Town planner report.
I think she heard you.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. So, as we mentioned earlier, the ARB meeting was canceled for December due to a lack of quorum. All of the agenda items that were previously scheduled will move to the January meeting. At this time, we do not have any expected additions to that agenda. The Planning Commission, we did discuss the SUP for QBE at that meeting. At this time, they have deferred the agenda items to the following meeting, so we will bring that back through update at the end of the month in the work session. The town has received a Board of Zoning Appeals application for 6712 Jefferson Street, to be specific, Unit B. This is something that myself, the town manager, town attorney, and clerk are actually working on this week to get our Board of Zoning Appeals ready and set the agenda as well as the date. We will keep everybody posted as this continues. And otherwise, just kind of been doing several staff in-house edits of the zoning text amendment and the newsletter. The newsletter will be printed on Wednesday and mailed out Thursday afternoon, so hopefully you'll have it in your mailbox Saturday or first thing on Monday. And then lastly, this coming week, we will be calling in several property maintenance concerns. This is something that has to be done via their their phone system. So I will be calling those in. We have approximately 3 cases right now that we'll be calling the county in to assist us on. If you have any questions about those, let me know. Otherwise, business as usual for the planning department.
Okay, I saw Bob's hand. We'll go with Bob.
Emily, I noticed in the staff report you've got something about renewing the plan for Robinson's Paradise with D.R. Horton. Can you give me a little background on what that's all about? Because there's going to be a host of new issues given the changes in the surrounding uses, and the impact of that on the, or likely impact of that on the stormwater, particularly given the location of the commuter lot.
Yes, so we were recently contacted by D.R. Horton. They're interested in buying that property from the current 2 owners and developing it as the original site plan was once laid out. Myself and the town engineer are going to meet and discuss what they need to do to update their plan and bring it back into accordance with our current site plan and ordinances. We'll be having that meeting actually on Wednesday. So I can give a better update on Wednesday afternoon. Following that meeting with Katie, we will then start talking with the developer to see if they would like to move forward.
And part 2 would be for Kim. Have we figured out the status of the BZA appointments fully? Now we're fully. Any chance we could have a definitive list by next month?
I'll have a definitive list by tomorrow.
Okay, good enough. I'm done.
Steve, you're next on the list.
Yes, sir. I just had 2 quick things. Emily, what's the status of McDonald's and their renovation there?
So McDonald's is currently working through their final adjustments to the site plan, and they should be in attendance at the January meeting. They had to
Good. The only other question I had is the Pardue House. Where are we at on that?
that is one of the properties that we are notifying the county about. The status is currently that it's all boarded up. There is a gentleman across the street that has helped us make contact with the owner and is trying to assist in getting it boarded. However, she does not plan to make any additions, any monetary investment in the building until she receives funding help.
Is there a timeline when we can make something happen? Just curious. I mean, that's an eyesore, and I'm just curious, is there a timeline where something's going to happen there, one way or the other?
So at this point, we did put out the blight ordinance, and if council would like to proceed with creating a blight plan, I can work on that and present it. We can move forward with spending blight money to secure the structure and make any updates as needed.
Okay, yeah, because I don't want to, you know, we got to have teeth into this, and if we're just issuing letters and not following up, we're not doing anything, and she knows it. So, okay.
I can work with Chris, and we can bring that up as maybe a work session discussion.
Okay, yeah, I'd be curious as to what the rest of the council and the mayor feels about it. That's just an eyesore in this town, one of about three. And I know for at least 3 years now, we've been issuing letters, doing things. You've been doing everything you could, so it's not a knock on you. Please understand that, on you or Chris. But it'd be nice to see something done. So, okay, thank you.
Just speaking to that, that's what here recently, specifically the past couple of months, we've actually been jumping through the legal hoops that we need to jump through for us to be able to develop this plan, so that if we need to move forward and put liens on the properties and stuff like that, that's what we're moving forward to. So the previous letters we sent, a couple years back, they were just niceties. Hey, can you please take care of this? It's running down. Now we're doing the stuff that's legally required, that if we need to go and make changes and make those edits, we can actually make something happen. So I know it's been taking a while, but we're doing what's legally required for us to move forward.
And thank you. So where are we at? You said you're preparing something. Where are we at on that?
So what we'll do is
that's going to be
essentially what the plan is, and Emily, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially the plan will be what's going to end up being required to bring it up to the minimum health, safety, and welfare standards. And that's all that the plan would really require. And then it would be the cost that we're going to have to pay to do that, and then put a lien on the property for them to pay us back.
And then the timeline on that?
Well, that's going to depend on the plan and what everything happens there. So it's going to be.
That has to be written, correct? Where are we at on writing the plan?
That's what will be at the next work session.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I think I saw your hand, Marshawn.
No, I was just going to follow up, but we can discuss it in the work session. If I understood it correctly, they put the plan together, the owner has presented that plan, and they have a timeline with which to respond, I believe, and then that's where we can take the money. But I do agree, we have budgeted the blight ordinance. We do need to start executing those dollars.
Okay, any more questions?
I have a question. Emily, has there been any movement forward in regards to the fence that is falling down in between the commercial property and the home on Fayette?
Thank you.
I'll have to follow up with you on that. That is one I have not made contact with the property owner yet. Just with the holidays, I lost track of it. But I'll get on that this week and follow up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see no hands.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one quick thing that just came to me that I'm trying to find my,
Okay,
to unmute.
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't know how to unmute. I don't even see the video thing. Oh, there it is. Mr. Mayor, if I could go back, to the financial just for a quick second. I see here under on the budget for the public safety that the building official is listed underneath it. I don't know if Joe or Bob could give me an answer, or maybe even Roberto if he's still online. Do you guys see what I'm talking? It's under public safety. It's 18 of the packet. Under public safety, there's $15,000 that's being carried under erosion and sedimentation insurance. Should that be reclassified?
Councilman Morris? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Councilman Morris. So when this budget, originally that line item existed because when I first started, the town actually did have its own building inspector. So they did fall into the public safety for that reason. It was capped for the previous administration, did not feel the need to move it, as they kept that line item as for the erosion inspections as it's stated there. But I don't see a reason, unless Mr. Ware or Joe can tell me a reason why we couldn't remove it from the public safety and place it into another line item. But when
I've got
did
no
see
issue with
the
moving
town
it.
at one- Yeah, because I'm not sure, but for me, it would make sense. And the reason why they had it that way is because back then the town did, up to 2018, I believe, when Jerry Shire was here, the building official was actually done through the town and building inspections. But now that, of course, has moved over to the county, so we could definitely, in this coming new budget, we could definitely make that change.
I just think it would be wise, Mr. Mayor, if when we're looking at the public safety numbers, it's truly reflecting the PD department.
I agree.
Well, the problem with that is public safety has many meanings in different jurisdictions depending on what sort of services that you provide. I mean, I can understand having the building inspector there, but I'm not wedded to it.
Okay. Well, I just think that in the future, if anything is addressed to the, under public safety, it would have some form of control by the chief of police. And this $15,000 does not. So I just would make a request if we could move it to the appropriate. And I think that's what Bob and Joe and Roberta has been doing. They've been tidying up the budget. They've been putting the items under the right, under the correct headings. So I think this is just one that we should just make a decision to do and to act on, please.
We'll take care of it in the next budget.
Thank you. You can leave the money there too, you know. Right, Chief? It's fine, right? I'm back.
I was just, can you hear me? Okay. I was just going to say, we're certainly not wedded to that. That's something that we can reprogram, for lack of a better word, in the next budget. But it's been that way for a long time.
Was that your only question?
Yes, sir, for now. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Then we'll move on to the engineer report. And that's for you, Emily.
Okay. So Katie's report kind of falls in line with what I've been reporting on. She's currently working on the Robinson Village site plan. We have a couple outstanding items from the applicant who submitted additional information to her. She's reviewing those. She came out and she did the review and the walk with Chris for the Fayette Street homes as well as there on Jefferson Street. She's also looking at the stormwater issues. She will be reporting back to us with a report on what next steps we may want to look at taking for the issues on Jefferson Street. We also have her working on several other site plans. Transform Power Yoga is coming in here soon, so we've put that on her radar, as well as the McDonald's. Other than that, that's about it. We do have Christopher Consultants still doing E&S inspections, so they've been out just about weekly for the past little bit over at the hotel. Scott is performing those inspections. We have copies of all the reports there at Town Hall, so if you guys have any questions, I know we've had a lot of rain, a lot of storm events, but we are staying on top of that for inspections.
Okay, we'll start with Marshawn.
Emily, you mentioned a Jefferson Street issue. What is the Jefferson Street issue?
So that is the riprap and stormwater management system that runs behind 18th century homes. We had several complaints there from Jefferson Street, so we started looking into it.
Chris?
Oh, thank you, sir. Thought someone else wanted to go. Sir, the hotel is underway. When are we as a council gonna address the whole aspect of the utilities and paying for removal of the utilities on Jefferson Street? Isn't there an action item or something we need to start discussing for residents to realize and even for us to start pondering on how we're gonna address in spending all that money? Yes, sir.
So this is actually something that I've talked with the finance liaisons about. As many of you know, we had the turn lane engineered for potential installation of a turn lane here. This is something where I think it's going to be a lot of work, but I think if we can try and partner with Delegate Rome and potentially Prince William County Transportation, because now that that section of property is the town's, that's deeded to us, we'll have the land value of this side as well as the land value on that side. I'm going to see if there's a way we can try and partnership with potentially the state or the county to try and see if we can partner with that to move forward with those two turn lanes. And there's certain aspects that we'll have to look into, for example, what capacity that would increase that intersection and different things like that to try and help tip the scales a little bit in our favor. And that's something that ideally I wanted to finish the Jefferson Street project, which is actually finalizing the punch list here very shortly, that we can start getting into that. So that's something that we want to look into to see, instead of us spending 100% to try and relocate these utilities, if we only have to pay a portion because we can partner with the state or the county transportation and try multiple different facets to do that. That's something that I think would be advantageous for the town to investigate moving forward.
So is there a place where we keep this on an ongoing item, and on whose list does this stay on?
Yeah, this should probably come up in the budget. It should be an item added to the CIP, and the CIP would be where that gets tracked and where the funding gets associated with it. Yeah, I've been kind of toying around with that in my head, but haven't really tried to move forward with anything yet. It would have been coming up with budget discussions over the next month or two. So I expect that probably popping up within the next month or two. Marchant?
Chris, let me say this back to you. So the idea is to do a cost sharing, that at the same time they improve the lanes in the south and the utilities have to be removed as part of that project. That's your suggestion, that we piggyback on that effort and do underground, and not to relocate it, but underground instead of relocating?
Well, so what we're looking at right now is, just for example, based on the hotel's land value estimate, I believe it was about $160,000 is what their land deeded was for us. And then our land, let's say it's the equivalent price, then that would bring us to $320,000, plus we have engineering for the north side. So there's already quite a substantial amount of investment that we'd be able to put forward to this project. So then, unfortunately, it would depend on whether it was the state or the county, some different options that they were able to move forward with. That's what we try and work with. I don't have any definitive plans or anything as of yet. My main goal is to kind of present this as, hey, land value alone, not having to acquire the land because it's already deeded to the town, that's quite substantial in the process already. And then, see how far we can get down the line and see what the options are, if it's available to partner, or if it's not, then at least we have an answer.
It seems you're trying to be pragmatic and do both at once. It works for you. It's probably a little bit too far away, but the other part too is connecting the pedestrian path north. On the north side of the bridge at the east coast, but that may have to be a separate item that we can.
Well, that's not a county. I think that's something that Joe had pushed at one point with Canlan, and it got shelved because of some relationship that got deteriorated. So that's something that maybe Joe Passanello could be tasked to resurrect.
But I would make your approach, I think, makes sense. Try to
Yeah.
work smart, not hard.
Yeah, and that's good. Thank you for doing that. I just don't want for us to go dormant for 6 months to a year and then it pops up. I think it should be something that's on a running calendar to say, hey guys, this, just so you know, it's coming. So Bob and Joe can be sweating as they put
numbers together, they can realize in the back of their head that, hey, it's coming, you know? So I just kind of wanted to make sure it doesn't go dormant. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Joe, you had a comment?
I'll let Bob go first, and then I'll...
Okay, Bob?
We really haven't lost sight of it. I mean, it's sort of shifting priorities. I mean, at one point in time, Dominion was in here doing, or purporting they were getting ready to underground the rest of the lines on Fayette Street, but I haven't seen anything come of that, and we asked one of the site engineers if they could expand the undergrounding to include that particular corner as part of the same project, and they didn't seem terribly averse to it. So we need to follow up with that. As far as tying into the county, the county's had real little appetite forever for doing anything for the town when it comes to transportation projects or sharing the cost. I suspect that may be changing. There is a push from certain groups within the county right now to address connecting certain disconnected areas of the county and uncompleted projects, and it has come to the attention of some of those groups that we have completed our portion of the Jefferson Street walking path that goes to 66, and now the unconnected portion to Heathcote is the long uncompleted switch from the left, switch to the right, you know, what year is it, who's building, uncompleted path with no funding. My suspicion is they're going to put a lot of pressure on the county since it's, you know, one of these alternative, you know, multimodal transportation, walk, bike, you know, all the wonderful buzzwords. But my understanding is they're going to put some pressure on them in the very near future. I would suggest that would be the time that, you know, we need to address Jefferson Street. Somebody needs to address that railroad crossing and the perpetual manhole-sized pothole that's down there. So maybe that'll be the time to do it. But my guess is we won't see any action on that or discussion by the county until probably July.
Emily, you said that there was that they actually did sink some of the utilities by Shepherd's property?
Yes. So this past summer and fall, Dominion came in and they started up on Washington Street area near the museum, and they went underground with the power line all the way up to the Shepherd property. That's the only one that opted out of not being underground, to my knowledge, on the south side of Washington Street.
And that was done, I saw flags for it, but I didn't see any ditches get dug.
I didn't see it getting drilled, no.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, so one thing that it has been brought up is with the priority list that, hold on, let me unmute. One thing that was brought up is with a variety of the administration priority list getting taken off, we do need to revisit it for some new things, and that's actually something when we'll be in the process of almost finalizing that Jefferson Street project, and then we'll just be able to add the turn lane project. So that's some of the things that I want to be able to work with. And like I said, I think it's going to take some collaboration with the state and the county, and, you know, try and get some backing of support, you know, showing that, hey, look, if we were to do this plan on both sides, this is how many vehicles per hour or per day. It would increase the capacity. It would take some of the load off of the Divergent Diamond, just different things like that. I think we need to kind of compile that information and present it as, you know, this is what we are able to put into this, and then, you know, would you be willing to meet us halfway or, you know, help us out? And I think we'd be able to get something done.
I'm glad I'm wearing a mask, because I was just smiling underneath it, because you just said the same thing twice. You're doing the right thing. You're on the right path in doing it. You just keep defending yourself, man. You're doing good. I just want to make sure we don't forget it, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Are you done with your comments, Bob? Okay, Joe?
They went. Good? Okay. Yeah, I think Chris makes a very good point. One of the questions I had before I answered Chris's point, what is the projected end date for this construction for the hotel? Are they on target, do we know?
So right now they're projected, the original projection was October of 2020, they would have the building done and they would be strictly doing interior work, so like painting, decorating, things of that nature, with an open date in December or January. If I said 2020, I meant 2021.
21, right, okay.
Yeah, so an open date of January 2022. The last I spoke with them when I was up at the office last week, they did notify me that they're running a couple weeks behind based on the weather that they've had. And they ran into that little snafu of finding contaminated dirt, so.
Right, okay. So October 2021, January 2022. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do the relocations of those utilities by then. Not sure, but if that's the date, we'll have to just see, but it's probably not likely. But to Chris's point, relative to tracking this issue that has to get corrected, right? I mean, you don't want to have a brand new hotel there and those poles sticking out. It just wouldn't look right either. It would seem that the priority list might be a good location as well. Plug it in there and we can monitor it going forward. How you're making out, Chris, with some of your ideas of negotiating and what have you. And you, of course, you can put it in the CIP as well, but I think the priority list for the council would be a good place to park it for now. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for the town engineering report? Okay, we'll move on to the town attorney report.
Thank you, Mayor. You have my report. I stand ready to answer any questions. Sir, Mr. Pastanello.
Chris, he just gave me the, okay. Blue Sky, have we heard anything about what we had talked about previously?
Well, we can go into more detail in closed session, but I can tell you that nothing has been happening with Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I think that's about it for that.
Okay.
So I guess we'll go into council time. I'm sure we can wipe that out pretty quick. Councilman Morris.
Thank you,
you're
sir.
first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the CARES Act, we received some new furniture. It looks good, Chris and staff. You know, the placement of them, who knows, maybe we can get some more. So I know you're coming up and you're thinking about outside the box, just how to get more stuff from the CARES Act, but the furniture looks good. A huge thank you to Haymarket Baptist Church for taking the initiative with their kind gesture as they work alongside the police department. This is just a great way how we see our local churches and organizations coming alongside to say, hey, let's put feet to our faith. And that's a great way just to entrust it with the police department, who will come alongside these individuals who may have need. Chief, 4 years, congratulations. You survived. Been good. It's been good. And, you know, one of the residents said it earlier on, you, and I can say this with no reservations, you have by far been the best chief of police that I've ever served with. And, you know, there has been some issues that we're dealing with, but it's not something that tarnished anything concerning you. By far, you have been the best chief of police our town has ever hired and has ever worked with. And you've taken our town to a level by which I believe it's going to be hard to match if in the future. So just keep doing what you're doing. There's one more thing. Furniture. There's Yes, one last thing. Mr. Mayor, I would like to publicly thank and recognize our Vice Mayor. Since she has taken office, it has been, it's new to her. I don't think she has ever held a public office, but you have taken the reins of the Vice Mayorship and taken it to a level that it surpasses anyone's expectation, and I'm really proud to serve with you as the Vice Mayor. So thank you and well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, next on the list, Joe Passanello.
Okay, I just got the signal, so you can hear me. That's a hard act to follow, but I concur with what Chris said. I just want to make sure, I wish everybody a Happy New Year and a very healthy 2021. I just want to comment very briefly on some of the things we heard at Citizens Time. I just want people, and I don't know if anybody's still sitting there listening in or not, but I just want them to know I heard what they said, and there were some very good comments. I appreciated some of the discussion regarding the DMV Select. We are certainly going to do our due diligence on that as we go forward, and if it's something that works, I think it might be a great opportunity for us. So with that, I'll pass it along to our Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I wanted to say Happy New Year, and I also wanted to extend additional thanks to Chief. Thank you for spending some time with me last month after the last meeting, answering some more in-depth questions that I had, so it was very helpful, very insightful. And then Chris, I'm really excited to get that breakdown for the DMV to better help balance some of the numbers and some of the concerns with the citizens, so thank you.
Pass it off to Marcelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly associate myself with other council members' comments. I do agree that we need to probably revisit our priority list and reshuffle and make sure that we're checking in and prioritizing correctly. Staff and the police, you guys, obviously with me working in local government as well, no good deed goes unpunished. We continue to be able to serve under some pretty dramatic conditions. I have experienced that where people say, well, if you're able to get through a pandemic, well, then you can keep charging on with all the other roles and responsibilities. So I think we're all aware of fatigue. You know, I'm certainly done with Zoom fatigue, but hopefully this pandemic will finish up soon. And so I hope everyone just can stay the course, continue to support. People can have a bad day. I think we don't let people have a bad day anymore. So we just need to understand that we are under a lot of pressure, both at work and at home, and with our roles and responsibilities. So just being patient with that and recognizing that, and giving people a break as necessary. So keep up the good work, everyone, and happy to continue to serve with you through the new year. Thanks.
Handing off to Councilman
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Three quick things. First of all, I too want to congratulate the Chief and for his 4 years here. Look forward to at least 4 more, if not 6 or 8. But just a great job, and as well to Chris and his team. What a great job, especially this CARES Act. That really touches home with me because we made a difference in our businesses, but we made a difference in our residents as well that could spend that money, some that didn't have it. Last thing I have is, Chris, my condolences. You've been in my prayers losing your grandmother. I know it's a tough thing, one of the most influential guys in my life. I was only 10 when he passed, and that was my grandfather on my mama's side, my papa, and I still remember things about him. I didn't have him as an adult like you did with your grandmother, but I know you're going to treasure those memories that you have for the rest of your life. So again, my condolences, sir, for the loss of your grandmother. Other than that, to Ms. Kim and everybody, thanks. Council, I think we got a good council. I just appreciate everybody. And last but not least, those, we still have 2 citizens out here, one of them falling asleep because I got to give her a ride home, my wife and Ms. Leonard. We just appreciate y'all. We may not always agree with any of our citizens that come speak, but I think it's great that they take the time to come be heard. I think that's important, so thank you, sir.
And to hand off to Bob, Councilman Ware.
Thank you. I'll make it real quick. Councilman Morris is correct. The vice mayor has indeed taken the reins. What he doesn't realize, since he doesn't sit next to her, is that she beats both Ken and I with the reins under the table to get her way. That's it.
Okay, and I'm not on the list. I'll make mine quick too. I don't want to repeat anything that anybody said, but I do want to congratulate everybody for their services and everything else. Mayor Walk is not this Saturday, it's the following Saturday. Be expecting a notice to come out on Facebook or however we prioritize that. And that's all I have to say.
Move to adjourn.
Got a closed session.
We do?
We do?
Yep.
We never get any reports on those mayor walk, do we?
You have a write-up for us, Chris?
Hold on. We'll let Martin take us in. Martin, can you go ahead and bring us into closed session for the Blue Sky?
One quick question. I see Emily raising her hand frantically. You need to comment?
I need to switch hosts with Chris and then get out of the meeting and maybe Roberto. I don't know. So can we take
We can let her stay in. Does it really matter for Blue Sky?
Yes.
I would just-
Everything by the book, sir. Everything by the book.
It's our.
What I was going to say, Emily, you can stay on. It's fine. This is the. This should be okay.
Yeah, that's our option.
So go ahead, Martin.
So the form of the motion would be to enter closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.23711A8 with regard to pending litigation, specifically the town and Blue Sky Events LLC in circuit court and the parallel Blue Sky Events bankruptcy filing.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, let's go into closed session.
Go ahead, Martin.
So the motion would be that the council certifies that to the best of each council member's knowledge, only those items exempt from Open Meetings Act, open meetings requirements from under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only those matters that were identified in the motion leading to the closed session were heard or considered by the town council in the closed session that just concluded.
So moved.
Got a motion? Second?
Second.
Got a second?
No, give it to him. He needs it.
He has the donuts, so I second.
Shannon?
Ready for roll call?
Yep.
Ware?
Aye.
Pater? Yes. Larson?
Yes, I get a vote in this one, huh? All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Passanelli? Oh, and I forgot Mr. Schneider. The little red dog.
What happens when you're at the timeout table? You get forgotten. Aye.
Next agenda item.
Mayor,
Adjourn.
On point of information.
just want to update the Mayor's Walk will be this Saturday, not next Saturday.
Oh, yeah, might screw up again. Sorry, guys.
Joe, are you waving at us just to wave, or do you want to say something? I guess that's a no.
All right, so Mr. Ware made the motion to adjourn. Who was the second? Mr. Shannon. Thank you.
Okay, you got a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
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 I don't know what to do with the extra hours I have now.
Told you so.
Travel.
Told you so.
I was like, I can't alone.
Bob, I want to see you stand up.
Why?
Because after